Welcome back, everybody. Happy New Year. What's going on? It's great to see everybody back. And, right now in Taiwan, it is Chinese New Year. So, Xinyan Kuai Le. Okay. So, very happy to be here. The first episode of 2025. Alrighty. And I am being joined by the I'm at a loss for words right now. But we have New Jersey's lost son, Shinrod Jira. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Lovely to be here with all you lovely peeps.
Yes. And then we have all the way from California, we have the Articulation Series, Michael Shipman. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And then all the way from Toronto, we have the true champion of Super 7, Kyle Kaiju Canuck. What's going on, my friend?
Oh, very happy to be here and in great company tonight.
Awesome. Incredible. And we have two people that were officially in GXK. So first we have Mike's Monsters. How you doing, sir?
Great to be here. Always loved that shout out. I had nothing to do with it.
Artistically and spiritually, you did.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I met the guy who made the movie, so yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we have one of the main stars. Okay. We have Kong. We have Skar King, Mr. Allan Henry himself. Let's give him a big hand, everybody.
Monster.
Thank you for coming on the show. So everybody say hello. Thank you for coming on the show today. How have you been, sir?
I've been good. It's a nice cool day here in Wellington, New Zealand, and I'm already looking forward to the trajectory that 2025 has. I mean, it can only get better, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
But no, it is a joy to be here. I really do love meeting communities and like-minded people who love these films and love this kind of fandom, because I'm relatively new to it. So
sure,
it's nice to be welcomed in and learn more and discover new and interesting ideas and things that I hadn't really thought about. So I really, really love it. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Hi to everyone. Happy New Year. In Te Reo Māori, you would say ngā mihi o te toho, which is just my Māori way for saying Happy New Year.
Awesome. So let's meet some people in the chat. So we have DJ Master Jedi X. Great. I'm still waiting for the SH Monster Arts Godzilla Evolved and Hiya Toys. Yes, sir.
Who
isn't at this point? Yeah. How's it been, Alan? Love meeting you at G Fest last year. Hope to see your work in GXK3.
Hopefully. Conversations have begun. I know.
I was going to ask you that further, later. But
yeah, we can talk about it later. But yeah, I know that one of the actors who's playing one of the human characters has been confirmed, but a lot of the other stuff is still in conversation. So
I see. Okay, and then we have Lataro. How you doing, sir?
Show him the mini SH version. He says, "There you go."
Yeah, awesome, cool. Alrighty, cool. So, man, this is a great way to start, and let's just pick your brain a little bit, Alan.
Sure.
I always ask, new special guests, a couple things, and first one is, what is the Breakfast of Champions for you, sir?
Breakfast of Champions. Well, let's see now. That often changes depending on what I'm doing. A lot of the time, though, if I'm on set and we're working, it's usually something like bacon, eggs, hash browns, some roasted tomato, roasted mushrooms, something that's got a lot of carbohydrate and a lot of protein.
Sure.
And a lot of salt. Yeah, but like on the off days when I'm at home and just chilling out and like, sleeping in until midday in my pajamas, then it's like a cup of coffee.
Awesome. Awesome. Totally. Yeah.
There's been this campaign all through when I was a kid from like the Sanitarium company to promote like Weet-Bix, which is like just classic Weetabix for kids, and everyone's like, oh, breakfast of champions, and the All Blacks were doing advertisements on it, but like how many can you eat, and like all of our sports players, and as a kid I was like, oh, they're nice, I guess. And if like so many people be like, oh, you're a New Zealander, you should say Weet-Bix or like Marmite on toast, and I'm like, no.
Yes. So Allan, Allan Henry is your like a simple way to pronounce your name, but you actually have your name is actually a lot longer. It's four names.
Four names, yeah. So I'm half Maori, half Irish, and so I have two Maori middle names. And they're family names, like they're from, they're the names that my father and some of his tupuna, his ancestors had. So my full name is Allan Te Rangi Maruera Henry, and Te Rangi is Maori. It just means the sky. So Rangi Nui in our mythology, Rangi Nui was like the sky father. So Te Rangi means the sky. And then Maruera is like almost like a transliteration of the name Marsden. So it's kind of like a name that was given to a Maori chief a long time ago, and that was essentially his first name. And then when he went off to kind of start his own family and kind of build his own community, his own iwi, his own little hapu, they all took that name Maruera as a surname. So it's so it's a long ass name, Allan Te Rangi Maruera Henry. Allan Henry is usually just an easier one for people to remember and pronounce because it's two firsties.
That's you know what, like what you just described, that sounds like Disney movie potential. You know what I mean? Yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
very
cool. I think they're testing the waters with that whole Moana thing.
The
success of both 1 and 2, I wouldn't be surprised to see more Pacific stories being told that way.
Yeah,
because the mythology is so rich.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Okay, so holy moly, no wonder he made Kong the most badass Kong, Maori and Irish.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we have my friend David. How you doing, sir? Okay, Kaiora.
Oh, kia ora, David. Nice.
Awesome. Very cool. And we have also Growly26 saying hello to you, sir.
Hello, sir.
Just to Rob, though. That was only
just to Rob. Yeah.
Just Rob.
Yeah. So no one else matters.
No. And this is FigureMania show, but whatever.
Yeah, well, who's that
guy? So, what is your go-to snack and drink when you got spare time?
I think like soda and chocolate. Those are my things. Like I don't smoke, I don't drink, but like I love soda, and I really like chocolate.
Coca-Cola.
So I don't know what's worse. Yeah, Coca-Cola, sure. I mean that's Coca-Cola is delicious, but there are some ethical issues there. But cola flavor, yes, love it. But you give me there are sushi places here where you can get these wonderful Japanese sodas, and they're like watermelon and other things, and they're sugary and delicious. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, I experienced Dr. Pepper for the first time a couple of years ago because it wasn't a big thing in New Zealand, and then I went to Canada for my first ever con down in Windsor. And someone was like, "Hey, have you had Dr. Pepper?" And I was like, "I haven't." And so someone gave me a giant like a case of them, and I drank so much Dr Pepper that weekend. it was awesome. Don't blame me.
Have you ever tried A&W root beer?
I have actually.
Oh my God.
Since traveling to the States, I was like, give me all of the weird American sweets.
That's
A&W,
a rarity here
right?
in Taiwan. Yeah, that's a rarity here
excellent.
in Taiwan. And like whenever I see it, like my wife had a taste of it. She's like, oh, I gotta have it. Same thing.
It's crack.
Yeah.
It's totally crack.
Yeah,
Any soda is.
Gus and I were in Chicago last year for G-Fest, and one of the drinks that was one of the sodas that was available at like the hotel was I think it was A&W root beer, but there were a few different variations of root beer, and that was all we drank. It was delicious.
Awesome. That's so awesome.
Gus is shaking his head. He didn't enjoy it. That's fine. More for me then, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. And are you a pet person?
Absolutely. We have a dog. She's a little cavoodle, so she's very fluffy and very cute. But I grew up with a lot of animals. One of my older sisters had a couple of dogs, way too many cats. At one point, she had like just a petting zoo. She had hamsters, chickens, budgies, cats, dogs, rabbits. No, we didn't have lizards, but like pet person, absolutely.
Wow,
absolutely.
That's cool.
I had an uncle who had a farm, and on the farm he had some livestock, but he also had some animals that weren't livestock. So there were like a couple of cows that we hung out with, and a horse. And I have some dear friends who have like huge sprawling farms now, and there's animals everywhere. So I'm all about it. I love them. Love animals.
Cool.
Love having animals.
Yeah. I got 3 dogs here at home and things like my favorite animal and things. Can't live without them now. Yes, sir. So, Allan, in your time as a professional actor and things, is there a favorite place that you've traveled to, or even like on your off time, away from sets? Do you have a favorite place to travel?
That is a good question. I think the joy of traveling anywhere is awesome because I'm from. I don't know if this is a uniquely New Zealand perspective, or maybe it's just me, but New Zealand is so isolated. Even from Australia, Australia is still a 4-hour flight away, but it's so isolating to be in New Zealand that any time I get to go anywhere is always an incredible time. And there have been a couple of work opportunities I've had that have taken me to some really interesting places. Earlier last year, I was invited over to Africa. So I was invited I went to Nairobi in Kenya. And growing up, I never thought I'd ever get to Africa. I wanted to go, but it's one of those places where if I'm going to spend 30 hours traveling, then I might as well, most Kiwis will be like, well, I might as well go to like England or to like kind of greater continental Europe, to like France and Germany and Spain and things like that. I don't know many Kiwis who would take the diversion south to head to Africa because it's such a vastly different continent. Each country is so different. Yes, it has as much, it has probably more struggles than New Zealand has had over its time in terms of various forms of colonization and like intergenerational conflict, of course. But like we learn about it at school, but most people would be like, eh. So for me then to get the opportunity to actually go to this place that I've read about and I've studied about and I've seen the films and read the books, to suddenly be there and see the beauty of that, even the small part of the continent that I was in. Nairobi is a beautiful city in a beautiful country, and the people there are wonderful, and there are so many differences and so many things that are actually still quite the same. It was really it was a wonderful experience.
That's
And
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, it was very cool. It was very cool.
Yeah. You know, one thing, you know, when I first came to Taiwan, you know,
Mm.
I got to meet people from so many different backgrounds and cultures, more than I ever did in Toronto. And like when I came here, it was like the first time I met people from South Africa and things. And like, wow, they're really nice people. And like they've been telling me, yeah, you should come to South Africa and things. I was like, maybe I'll go one day, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely,
One of those
absolutely. I
things.
think if the more you travel, the greater you get a greater kind of empathy for a lot of things. It really does open your mind.
You do. It
And
really does. Yeah.
mm.
Yeah.
And
Fantastic.
also, you know, like hearing different cultures in terms of not just the language, but you start to look around and see the way that the culture works. You know,
Sure.
that's something you can't get from books or from media. You know, like anything you
No.
see in the media has a filter, it has an angle, it has a specific idea or story that it's trying to tell.
Yes.
So to be on the ground in that community, in that culture.
Oh man, yeah, I
Yeah.
totally get what you're saying. Yeah, because like before I left, you know what I mean? Like I just I lived in Toronto my entire life until, you know, when I got out and stuff. And then
Yeah.
when I got here and I met
Yeah.
my wife and things, like my life changed. I started traveling way more. I was like, well, like my perspective changed a lot since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I can understand wanting to stay where you are. Like if everything is available for you, like if the conveniences of your life are nearby,
Yes.
of course that's comfortable. Of course you would want to stay where it's comfortable.
Yes,
You know?
absolutely.
So I get it. Like even there are a lot of New Zealanders who still haven't left the island that they're on. Like there are people in the North Island who have never touched the South Island of our very own country, you know, and same other way. So I get it. And it's not like, you know, it's not like travel is easy for everyone.
It's a
No,
privilege.
exactly.
Yeah, traveling's a privilege.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is absolutely a privilege. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So, Alan, what were you like growing up as a kid? Did you collect toys, play video games, play sports? Can you please tell us?
Yeah. I was definitely a weird kid.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was the weird one. I think I was born in 1981, and there were not a lot of, you know, there weren't a lot of like ADHD diagnoses going around at that time. So I was considered energetic and hyper and distracted, you know, unfocused. A lot of my report cards are like, has potential, needs to apply himself. So I spent a lot of my time in kind of imaginative worlds with my friends. So we would play together and we would ride our bikes and we'd jump them off hills and, you know, dive off sand dunes, and we'd climb trees and we'd pick up sticks and pretend to be, you know, sword fighters or use them as lightsabers. Whatever was the current popular cartoon at the time, we would absolutely role play as those characters.
Sure.
You know, I grew up watching a lot of WWF pro wrestling. And I was a very active kid. Simply because there wasn't much to do in the small town that I was in, you know, like it was either like growing up in this, I was in this little coastal town called Patia, and it was by a beach. And so you were either going to the beach every day and like surfing and swimming, or I don't know what else other people do. There was nothing else to do. So
sure.
Yeah, so I was that kid who like, I would have toys and me and my friends would play with our toys and we'd take them on grand adventures and we'd you know, tip chairs over and like grab the cushions and build mountains and fly them around and cover the room with string, building zip lines for, you know, for G.I. Joes. And and then around about kind of the mid 80s, early 90s was when New Zealand was hit with the video game thing. So that's when Sega and Nintendo like exploded into New Zealand, right?
Oh, okay.
So before then, we had some of the precursors, like we had, you know, some of the early like Amiga stuff and like the Fountain Vision and the Fountain, So we had some of the, plug it into the RC port at the back, and you had like one controller with like 30 buttons and a joystick.
Atari.
Yeah. We were playing, and I was playing like Pac-Man, and I was playing, Pong and early versions of like Lode Runner or, side-scrolling Donkey Kong Adventures, that kind of thing.
Wow.
And then like mid-'80s, early 90s, arcades turned up, and we had Mario Brothers, and we had Donkey Kong, and we had, early kind of versions of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it just I remember everyone was focused on this incredible new technology. And I had a friend who had a Sega Master System, and we played Alex the Kid for like years, and then another friend had a Nintendo, and we played like Double Dragon, and we played Shinobi and Super Mario Brothers. And it was just this time where life as a kid was, if you weren't at your friend's house or at your house playing a Nintendo or a Sega, you were on your BMX pretending to be those characters, climbing into the tops of trees to try and like ninja jump on people, and then you'd screw it up, and you'd slam, and you'd hurt yourself. And
Sure.
So yeah, I was that kid. I played sports mainly because I wanted to be active. I was I wasn't competitive. I didn't like the idea of trying to compete.
Sure.
Because I wasn't the fastest. I was fast, but I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the strongest because I was skinny. I was a skinny little thing. So kind of athletic achievement wasn't a thing I was really interested in. So yeah, I remember I played a lot of sport, but whenever they would say, "Hey, do you want to play for the school team?" I was like, "No, why? That's this. I have to play games. I have to play the sport on a Saturday. That's when I'm watching cartoons, and then I want to go and play with my friends. Why would I want to be waking up at 4 a.m. to put on my rugby gear to go and stand in a cold field and get smashed by gigantic Samoan boys?"
Totally. Yeah. Totally get it. Sure.
Yeah. So that's I was that kid. I was very much a stereotypical, game playing, imaginative world, weird little kid doing voices, cracking jokes, making stuff up. My friends and I made cardboard, world heavyweight champion belts, and we'd wear them as we're riding our BMXs. We were those kids. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, watching Stranger Things was weird because I was like, "Oh, that's me and my friends."
I almost said that earlier. It's like, so you live Stranger Things, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there were some weird things going on in my small town too. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if if there was a Demogorgon there. Pretty sure it was that angry lady who ran the local library. She was scary.
So, Allan, when did you make the decision to pursue a professional career of actor and performance capture? Like, who or what was your inspiration for that?
I think the decision to actually take performing seriously wasn't until I was about 14 or 15 in high school. I had always been gregarious and a bit of a show off and a bit of a clown. When I was younger, I was very small. I was very slight. I was short. I was skinny. I had kind of longish hair. So growing up, I got bullied a lot simply because I wasn't the big, strong, tough kid. And so I realized that the perfect defense to get around bullies was to be funny. And so I became the funniest person ever, as far as I was concerned. So I tried to crack jokes. I was always doing silly voices, and that I think lent itself to performing arts. And when I was in high school, I had a high school teacher who she saw that I was interested in it and had some kind of talent in it. And I remember she sat me down and she was like, "Listen, you could make a career out of this." She was like, "Yeah, it might be tough, but I mean, it's going to be tough whatever you do. So you appear to be quite good at this. You love it. So why not give it a shot?" And I was like, "Okay, that sounds good." So for a few years, in my last few years of high school, I started to take it a bit seriously. And then when I finished high school and got out into the quote unquote real world, I found that when I was working all those other jobs just to make money, the times where I got to run away and like pretend to be other characters in theater shows or for, you know, projects that my friends were working on was really enjoyable and really felt really fulfilling. And I decided to begin, you know, tertiary training and kind of actually trying to work towards some sort of certification or some sort of qualification for this sort of thing. And that led to eventually coming to Wellington here in New Zealand, where we have the New Zealand Drama School, which is like the kind of capital training institution. It's one of about 5 that we have. And I had always been interested in action-based stuff. I think growing up watching pro wrestling, you know, I had a proclivity for it. So I did a lot of martial arts when I was growing up because there were martial arts on offer in my community, and it was a great way to stay out of mischief.
Sure.
So by the time I'd hit drama school, I was about 23, and I had already been studying with some people who were doing, you know, like weapons work and swords work and martial arts. And I guess I didn't realize it at the time, but I had already started training myself to be an action-based performer. So I could run and jump and cartwheel and backflip and fall off things and climb things and, you know, wall run and do all of the cool ninja stuff that I tried to copy from like Jackie Chan and those guys. So I had some tutors at drama school who saw that, and they were like, well, Allan, you know, you could gravitate towards more this kind of like stunt thing or like action extra thing. And I remember the motion capture, performance capture thing. I was at drama school. It was very fortuitous. That was the same time that Peter Jackson was making his version of King Kong. And I had a tutor. She pulled some favors, and she found an opportunity for my class, myself and the rest of my peers, to go to the studio and watch Andy Serkis do King Kong.
Wow.
And whenever people talk about this whole idea that representation matters, like, it suddenly made sense to me, because I walked in and I saw this guy who I already knew was good because I'd seen him do Gollum. And I saw Andy Serkis doing King Kong for Peter Jackson. And it was in my backyard, you know? I was like, not only is my dream like doable, it's incredibly possible for me to do because it's right here. You know, I don't have to take the punt and go to another country. I can do it right here. It's in my backyard. It's in my town. It's with people that I know. These are my colleagues and my peers. You know, we speak the same language. We understand the culture. And that was the moment. And I remember Andy came over. He had a break. And he, you know, the gracious, wonderful human that he is, he came over and saw us, and he sat us down. He was like, hey, who are you? How are you? He talked to us about drama school. He talked to us about training. The production manager, the first AD, tried to get his attention and be like, Andy, we need to do the next shot. And he, to his credit, he was like, yeah, give me a couple minutes. And he sat and, you know, took the time to talk to us. And I was just like, right, okay, great. This is it. This is what I want to do. I love the look of this. I'm really interested in it, you know, and if it means I get to work with beautiful people like Andy Serkis, I'm in. And so I dedicated, that was my final year. I had like one whole year. I just looked at what I needed to be able to do that stuff. And I met the people who were working in it, and we got to chatting. And, you know, I tried to find my people, and that was the kickoff point. And then about a month before that, it was about November of my final year at drama school. I was about to graduate. I got a call from someone that I met in that session who had the same agent as me. And they said, hey, there's this guy, Neil Blomkamp. He's doing the Halo movie. Would you like to come and audition for the mocap team? And I was like, yes, absolutely. Yeah, let's do this.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
yeah, it was very cool. And Neil was there, and he was like very hands-on as a director, which was cool. So we were just working in the volume, you know, and this was like the beginning of like AR, VR technology as well. So we had like these visors on, VR helmets. where we were just literally inside the greatest game in the world at the time. And from there, that was the kickoff point where I met more people, and then, those connections strengthened, and the communities, I'd started to find more of that community. And yeah, it's just been, I guess the rest is history, because from that point, I got on the team, but then the film was scrapped like 2 days in for whatever reason. But those people still kept calling me and saying, Alan, there's this other gig coming up. Do you want to work on this? We've got this other thing. It needs, someone who can move well. We need to do zombies for a video game. Can you come and do this? We need someone who can be a monster. Can you come and do this? We need someone to just run along and fall off this thing. Can you do that? So a lot of my work and a lot of work in New Zealand is built from word of mouth, from reputation, from people working with you and realizing that not only do you have the skill, but you're a nice guy to work with. You're really supportive and helpful. You're a collaborative team player. And it just snowballs from there.
That's awesome.
And so I've been incredibly lucky. Like I mean, to be fair, I've stacked the deck in my favor in terms of the way that I've trained myself and the people that I've made sure to meet.
Sure.
But I have been incredibly lucky because a lot of those people have taken the risk, and I've done my absolute best to make sure that risk pays off.
Awesome. That's incredible, man. Congratulations. So that was going to be my other question. What was it like, landing your first big gig, like what was going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, the Halo thing was weird because I had never really experienced anything like it. And I didn't really have the time for it to actually process, because before I knew it, it was done. And it wasn't until a few years later when I got asked to come into the mocap studio at WetFX, and this was in their new studio at the time.
Sure.
Again, it was the same guy that got me the Halo audition. Wonderful man by the name of Shane Rungy, who is like the godfather of kind of mocap creature performance in New Zealand. Okay. For those who don't know Shane Rungy, because everyone in the world seems to know him, he was the Minotaur in the Narnia series. He was one of the riders of the Mumakil in Lord of the Rings. He was the chief rider. He's been so many monsters and so many creatures in the history of New Zealand film. It's just uncanny. And he's wonderfully generous. He extended that opportunity to me and said, hey, we're working on this film. Come and I was like, okay, sure. And I turned up and I didn't know what it was. And he was like, oh, it's just this little weird film. It's Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Anyway.
I remember that one.
I do too.
I was like, oh, okay, sure. I didn't know anything about it. And so they were like, here are these platforms. You're going to jump on these platforms, and now you're going to be a vampire, and you're going to do this. We're going to swing you on a rope, and these are horses. And I didn't have time to process what was going on. And it kind of snowballed from there. I think the first time I went, whoa, okay, this is a big deal, was when they called me for Avengers. And I was just in the car driving somewhere, and I got a phone call, and I answered it, and they were like, hey, are you available tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, sure. What's in? They're like, we've got some movement stuff we need done for one of the Marvel films. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, Marvel's great. I've got some of their comics. Awesome. And they're like, cool. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, we'll see you here at 8:00. And I was like, yep, 8:00. And they're like, yeah, cool. Yeah, should be good. You're going to be Iron Man, so it'll be fine.
Oh, no way.
So arriving the next day, I was like, remind me, did you just tell me yesterday that I was going to be Iron Man? And they're like, yeah, you're Iron Man. So anyway, it's just another day for the motion capture animation team at WetFX. But Allan Henry, I was like, Iron Man, cool. And we got to work, and we looked at some of the movement style that had already been established. We looked at a lot of the comic books to find those iconic silhouettes. And thankfully, that joy hasn't really subsided. So every time they call me for something, even if it's yet another, Marvel piece, then I'm still like, cool, this is kind of cool. 8-year-old Alan is having a blast.
That's cool. A question, so, who did Hulk? Do you know who did Hulk?
Well, the thing is, so many people do it. Like,
okay,
there are so many of us internationally that do these things. Mm-hmm. And because of the way that the studios piece, like break apart the film into various acts and to hand that off to different studios. I've been Hulk for a number of films. I know TJ has been Hulk for a number of films. There have been a couple of other dudes in LA who are often cast as Hulk. Like it's nice to be part of this weird fraternity of people who are like we've been superheroes for most of our lives.
That's incredible.
And it's and I like the fact that it's never just one of us. Like I like the fact that there's a number of us who do it.
Sure.
Hulk was good fun. I did a lot for the previs for Brave New World, but most of that is TJ. And I did a lot of it for Infinity War and Endgame. So yeah, it was cool. I did a little bit for She-Hulk as well because we worked on that at Weta. And that was interesting because that was kind of that different vibe. That was like smart Hulk, So there's a different quality to that kind of Hulk versus the previous ones with like Avengers and Infinity War and things. So it was nice to see the two, to try and play the two versions of that. Such an iconic character, and there are two very different established realities for that character.
Sure. Cool. I do have this John McCoy question for Allan. Is the motion capture actor world small enough that people like Andy Serkis? So I think you kind of alluded that already, right?
Yeah, it is. It actually is. There's you hear the names of everyone who's doing stuff, and then hopefully you get the chance to meet them. So yeah, I do know Andy. I worked with him. He was second unit director for the Hobbit trilogy, and I was on the creature team and the mocap team for that. At the same time, we were doing the last two Apes films, and he was in that as well. So Andy and I have actually worked together a few times, and he's lovely. But I mean, I also I know Toby Kebbell, who was an incredible performer. He was Koba in Apes. He was
Kong.
He was Kong for Skull Island.
He was Kong,
He and also Terry Notary, who was our teacher for The Hobbit and for Kong and for Apes. And I've chatted with Jason Lyles. In fact, I think Jason Lyles is coming to New Zealand soon. He played he did Rampage.
And he was also King Ghidorah, one of the heads, I think.
He was one. Yeah, he and TJ and who was
Richard Dorton and Alan Maxon.
Oh yes, thank you so much. Thank you. So I'm trying to figure out who everyone is because there are so many people doing such good work that I really admire, and it'd be like I get a nice kick when people are like, hey, you're Allan Henry, you did this King Kong thing. So I'm like, the least I can do is find out who these people are and look at their work and let them know that they're doing good stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of your work here. So I put together this this slide here. So that's you. Okay.
Look at that guy. Look at him.
Look at that guy.
Look at that guy.
That guy right there.
Looks like he wants to talk to you about some kind of design portfolio.
And with the pink shirt, Miami Vice all the way, for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. If only they would have given me the Testarossa, I would have been fine.
Yes. Yeah. And man, I was looking at this, and man, you got a really long resume, which is incredible.
Yeah.
And you did also a stuntman. So man, what's that like doing stunts? I mean, is that taxing on the body? I imagine it is, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so stunts is a whole nother beast. Like there's something inherently strange about the way that a stuntman's brain is wired. Because most normal humans will enter into a situation and be like, that's quite risky. I should exercise some kind of caution or just not do that thing. Whereas stuntmen look at it and go, that's inherently risky, but it would be really cool. So how can I not kill myself and still do the thing? Which is necessity is the mother of invention. So there have been wonderful kind of creative ways to do these sorts of things. But yeah, being a stuntman is incredibly taxing. You've got to be so fit. You have to be strong. You have to have a lot of endurance, because a lot of the time your work isn't easy, and it's never short. Like, it's not like you turn up once, you do one stair fall, and you're done. Like, if only. But no, you like arrive at 4 a.m., you get into costume, you get into makeup, you sit around for 9 hours, and then when your body is cold and tired, then they say, all right, Alan, you're going to do the stair fall, and we're going to probably do it 15 times. You know, so you...
I was watching... sorry to interrupt you, Alan. I was watching the movie The Fall Guy with Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling, yeah.
And that gave me like a little bit of insight, like for like the life of us, even though it's a movie, but like he's doing the same stunt over and over again. And it's like, oh man, that's kind of like, you know, the life of a stuntman, basically, right?
Yeah.
What kind of strength training do you have to do for that? Like, you said you have to train for it, but like an endurance, but like, how do you build that?
Yeah, so a lot of it is if it's job specific, you might just train on something. But yeah, it's literally just like you have to improve your cardiovascular fitness, and basically train your body to be able to lift or move heavy things. So for some people that's weight training, for some people that's calisthenics, for some people it's CrossFit. I mean, I'm 43. I'm an old man. So I go to the gym and I do some like strength training, and I'll do the basics. So I'll do something that requires me to push, or something that requires me to pull, something that requires me to lift. You know, I'll try and strengthen my core, because that's where most of it comes from.
Sure.
And I hate cardio, so I don't do cardio, but I disguise it. I disguise cardio by swimming, going surfing with my son Gus if the weather's good, or I'll do gymnastics, because I will do backflips and cartwheels and jump around on a trampoline for hours. But you tell me to run on a treadmill, and I will give up in about 2 minutes. So I have to, trick my adult ADHD brain to find other ways to do it. But like, honestly, the biggest thing in stunts is just endurance, mental endurance too, because you have to, if you're doing creature work and you're in prosthetics, especially heavy prosthetics, it is going to be the most uncomfortable thing you've ever worn. And it'll be long hours. You may not get a break. You'll be lucky if they remember to give you water. Because as soon as you're in the suit, they forget that you're in there. Yeah. Because they see the suit.
They see the suit. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm friends with a few of the Alien and Predator actors, and that's
you go.
On brand.
There you go.
It's on brand.
Yep. Because as soon as you're in that suit, they forget there is a human in there
until you pass out, and then they're like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah. Like, oh god. Yeah.
Get him out! Get him out!
You joke, but I have seen that happen on almost every creature job I've worked on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you really have to be a strong advocate for yourself.
Cool.
We had, when we were working on The Hobbit, all of the goblins had prosthetic suits. Mm-hmm. So we were in like 30 kgs of silicon and acrylic and lycra. And then the heads that they put on, like once you were zipped in, you could only breathe through the mouth, which wasn't a lot. So the whole head would fill with carbon dioxide very quickly. And in rehearsals, they were like, we'll be 10 minutes in the suit max, and then we'll get out for a while. No. We were in there for way too long. And a couple of people would just pass out. You know, like fit, strong people, but a human being can only recycle carbon dioxide for long enough, and then so you have to have enough like mental endurance and mental fortitude to be able to sit in the suit and calm yourself down, and just because your body will panic, but if you can work your way through it, you realize that you're actually okay, and when it does become a problem, you know the difference, so that you can, when it is a problem, you can start being like, hey, this is going to get real horrible real soon. Can we do something about this now?
Yeah.
Okay. But and if
you're it's a lot of mental toughness kgs, then.
Yeah, very much so. And if you've got a good
Yeah.
if you've got a good team, like if you've got a good team of stunties and stuff, you help each other out. Like you look after each other and you keep each other relatively focused, and you make sure you look out for each other. And if something looks like it's going to go wrong, you can speak up for each other as well. That's one thing I
Cool.
love about the stunties that I've met here in New Zealand is that
Mm-hmm.
it really is like a like a brotherhood and a sisterhood. Everyone is looking out for each other when you're on the job.
Sure.
People are trying to keep an eye out for you, and they may not jump up immediately and be like, hey, everyone, let's call it quits. But there have been times where in between takes, people will just come over and very quietly be like, how is everything? Are you all good? Do you need anything? Like if you need some water, if you need some air, or if you're lucky, you'll have one of the ADs will keep an eye on you, and they'll be like, what do you need?
Yeah.
Working on Ghost in the Shell was tough sometimes because there were moments where some dear friends of mine were the geishas, and those are fully robotic, but it was human beings inside robotic suits.
Oh.
And those were very hard to get into and out of. So if you had to go to the bathroom or if you needed a break, it would take a lot of time. And time is not something that a production company is too keen on wasting.
Sure.
So we tried to advocate for ourselves and we tried to advocate for each other. And there were a lot of egos on that show who stopped that. And honestly, there was a moment where Scarlett Johansson just pulled rank and talked to the women who were in the suits. And she said to them, if you need a long break, let me know. Tell me. And one of the girls went to her and said, hey, look, I need to get out of here. I need to go to the bathroom and I'm not feeling well. And Scarlett just like pulled rank and she said, I need a break. She was like, I need a break. And so it meant that everyone got to have a break, which was great. But she went to the women who were in the suits and she said, I'm going to go to my trailer. When you're ready to come back, come get me and then I'll come back.
Awesome.
So she, and only because she was just like, this is getting out of hand.
Wow.
I know we're on a tight schedule. I know that money is an issue, but people are forgetting that there are humans inside these suits and they need water and they need to take a break.
She sounds really cool. Yeah.
She is.
Wow.
She's really lovely. She's very sweet.
Wow.
They had just had their daughter at that time. So she came onto set with one of those little kiddie like little bicycles that has the handle on the back so you can control it. And I had just Gus was pretty young, so I had just bought one for my son. And I saw that and I said, hey, I've got one of those. And she was like, oh yeah, we just bought this thing. And within minutes, she and I were just talking like a couple of new parents being like, I don't know how this works. Am I going to kill this child? I was not qualified for this.
Yeah.
So she's really sweet. She's really lovely. Very clever, very funny. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, she's awesome.
And I was looking at your, here's like your resume. Which
I
is
need to update that. I absolutely do.
Oh yeah. Cool. And one thing that caught my eye while reading it was Cocaine Bear. Can you tell us before that, can you tell us a little bit about that? Like I imagine that was pretty fun for you doing Cocaine
Yeah, it was.
Bear.
It wasn't as method as everyone seems to think it was.
Okay.
That was definitely one of the weirdest shows I've ever done. Because all of the other creature stuff has been, either humanoid creatures like Kong, or wildly kind of fantastic creatures like in Shadow Beyond the Clouds and things like that, or like The Hobbit. This was the first one where they were like, you need to be a black bear. And black bears exist. People know what they look like. They know how they move. So you can't screw this up. And then Elizabeth Banks was like, also, it's high as hell on cocaine. I was like, oh, okay, all right, okay. And fortuitously, here in Wellington, very close to where I live and work, we have the Wellington Zoo, and they have a bear. They have this beautiful Malaysian sun bear called Sasa, and she is the sweetest thing. And they have like the talk. Every 2:30, they have the bear talk, where one of the keepers is like, these are the bears, blah, blah, blah. So I would just go to the zoo. And, I was very lucky. I got paid during this time to cover my costs to go to the zoo and do research. So I would go to the zoo and I would sit in those sessions and learn about the bear and look at the way that she moved, where her weight was going, try to make kind of informed decisions about a bear's thought process in terms of what motivates it to do the things it wants to do. Like most of the time it's because it's looking for food. And if anything interests it, like it may hold its interest for a while, but not for very long. So studying the bear stuff was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and she's like Sasa is very clever too. I was surprised just how clever she was and how clever all bears are, let's be honest. And then I would watch CCTV footage of bears tearing people's cars apart or like sniffling through the garbage or there's that wonderful video where they set up the mirror in the forest and the bear sees it and goes from 0 to 1,000 in like half a second, which was cool because you'll often see bears either in their normal kind of gait where they're moving and they're kind of checking things out, or you see them when they're angry and they're fighting and they're running, but you never see that change. So I remember seeing that and being like, okay, so if I need to move like this bear convincingly, I have to be able to go, I have to have that explosive power to go from 0 to 100. And so I spoke to a dear friend of mine, Ben Frencham, who is a wonderful creature performer as well. He and I have a similar kind of lineage. But he's also trained to become a personal trainer. And I messaged him and I said, would you be able to design a program for me that I could do in a hotel room, or, I won't have access to a gym full time, but I need to get my body strong enough so that I can have that kind of quick change explosivity. And he was like, yeah, sure. The in terms of the creative ideas around the substance abuse stuff, that was a bit weirder. That was a bit harder to do. Like I'm in the film industry. There's enough reference material all over the place. But that was more, looking at some of there are these wonderful interviews of people who are recovering from like substance abuse and kind of how the effect it had on their life. And they have these wonderfully informative, interviews about how it affected them and the way they felt and the way they moved. There are some wonderful, like medical, very analytical, this is your brain on drugs kind of thing. So that whole show was definitely the weirdest kind of prep that I've done for something like that. When it came time to perform that stuff, that was always a conversation between me and the director, Elizabeth Banks, because she would have the ideas. She was like, I think it's going to be this, because the bear will be a little bit faster, a little bit stronger. It won't quite realize the situation it's in. So that was more of like creative things. We just kind of pushed the envelope a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So let's switch gears here and let's talk about your very first time in the Monsterverse with this. Tell us about this. This is like probably my favorite moment of the Monsterverse is seeing my two favorite monsters go at it. And man, what was it like to work on this? What was it like for you to get the call and, hey, can you work on this project with us? Can you please give us some insight on this, Allan?
Yeah, so for Godzilla versus Kong, that was another situation that was really low key to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
I got called in to do some stuff. They said, "Oh, we just need some like giant ape gorilla motion," and I said, "Oh, okay." And this was in pre-visualization, so they weren't quite sure how it was going to go. They just needed some ideas, and they needed to have some kind of footage they could show the studio, and they could show Adam. And so I kind of came in, they said, yeah, it's King Kong. And I was like, oh, cool, okay. And we looked at the new design in terms of it's the same Kong from Skull Island, but it's been a few years of kind of growing up and some sort of evolution. So it was very much like, oh yeah, we'll look at this and maybe we move like that. And then when they said, okay, so they like it, we're going to do some more, we're going to work on the rest of the film. that was one of those moments where I was like, what? This is crazy. Like, you know, and I mean, I'm very lucky because the amount of reference material that already exists is incredible. Like the history and the lineage of Kong, you know, from like way back in like even in the 30s and stuff. There's so much to draw from, and there's so much that's already been established. It was so much fun to find a way to become part of that. You know, there was no pressure to invent something from zero, but the pressure instead came from what has been established and what is this film trying to achieve. You know, what new things are they trying to introduce in this film. And I remember the first time we worked on the scene where Kong lurches through the forest, and there's that first connection between him and Gia when she holds up the Kong doll. I remember that was a moment where I was like, oh, I see. I'm so glad like they're reinforcing this idea of Kong and his connection to people and humans, and not in an adversarial way.
Sure.
You know, not in a confrontation, or these people are trying to hurt me or capture me and show me off as a prize. But his relationship with Gia and the way that you see that this Kong is intelligent, you know, and he's soulful, and he has ideas, and he has a personality. Like, you know, he makes choices. Sometimes they're not the best choice.
Sure.
But Kong is thinking for himself, and he's reacting to the world around him.
Yeah, I mean, this Kong is by far my favorite version of Kong. Yeah, like throughout his whole history. Yeah, yeah. That's it.
Yeah, and I really like the focus they've made on the fact that Kong doesn't have text, he doesn't have dialogue.
Sure.
So you have to see all of his expression and his emotion and his meaning in his eyes and in his face, you know, in the way that his lips move, or the way that he, like, you know, furrows his brow at something, or snorts. And the moments where, you know, for like you see a little bit of Gia signing to Kong in Godzilla versus Kong, and him like watching and being like, okay, I get it. And then to see him actually sign back in the New Empire is I mean, personally, I was just like, what a great little piece of growth for Kong. You know, it further reinforces his connection with Gia, but it also reinforces that he's realized that he is capable of that form of communication. You know, because so much of when he's dealing with when he deals with Godzilla, or he deals with Suko, or he deals with Skar King, a lot of it comes from direct action, or you know, the way that he's looking at something. But to see that more soulful connection with Gia is really, really sweet and lovely. You know.
Yeah. So what was your favorite scene in Godzilla versus Kong? What was like your favorite scene to work on? Like,
honestly, it's very immature, but that opening scene where he wakes up and then scratches his butt and then has a shower.
Yeah,
because it was very silly.
The champ. When we see him scratching his butt, I go, yeah, that guy's the champ.
And it was just a silly joke that the animation supervisor at the time, he was like, you know what, I think it'd be funny if he scratches his butt. It might not work. We'll do a version with and without. And because we had, up until that point, we had talked about him being much older and being kind of this tired, grumpy old man, you know?
Right.
And it was a nice juxtaposition, because when you see him when he's angry and furious and fighting, and you know, he's punching Godzilla in the face, or he's getting his ass kicked and being thrown through buildings, it's very different to that very relatable, just early morning grumpy, you know, my shoulder hurts, I'm going to scratch my butt, you know, I need to go and wash myself. There's something very recognizable in that. And it's a nice again, it gives a nice color to that character. He's not just the angry rage machine,
Mhm.
you know. He's also this other thing that you know, as an audience, you get to connect to.
Yeah,
Mm.
that's cool. So, how much are you able to input yourself into that character? Like, do you have like any type of freedom in you know, in or input in how this character should react, or how should he, you know, how should he move and things?
Yeah, actually, yeah. It's both Godzilla vs. Kong and Godzilla X Kong were very collaborative processes, which was awesome. So often we would get notes either from Alessandro or Adam, or just from the animation supervisors at Weta, and the notes we would get would be essentially desired outcomes. They're like, we kind of want at the end of the scene, this is what we want to happen, or we want the audience to feel this, or we want it to seem like this, which would then give me room to be like, okay, I get the joy of trying to figure out how we get there. And and then it would be a series of collaboration with the animation supervisor where we'd try a take, and you know, I would try something, like we'd try something with the way that the way that he breathes and looks at things, and then they'd be like, okay, yeah, let's try something else, tweak it a little bit, you know. So there was this collaborative feel where I would make offers, and then that would spark ideas from the animation supervisor and from Adam and Alessandro, and then that would spark more ideas for me. So it was this kind of reciprocal thing where ideas were flying around, and we were just trying to get to this shared goal of what Kong was. So I really loved it. I really, really loved it. It was such a great way to work. And the feeling of, you know, it gives me a nice feeling of kind of shared custody of that character. Like, I don't want to say ownership because I don't own Kong. You know, myself and the 30 odd other performers who have done Kong in the past, or we all own Kong. You know, like, you know, so
Sure.
it was, for me, it was nice to have that, to be given that gift of like, here's this thing, you now have responsibility for it.
Sure. Did this question here, were the old King Kong and Godzilla films inspiration are on, or was it all meant to be all new? Like, did you draw any inspiration like from before?
I did for sure. There was, I think they definitely tried to make the distinction that this Kong was the Kong from Skull Island. It's not Peter Jackson's Kong. It's not like, you know, it's not like Kong Lives. It's not the 1933 Kong. So they wanted people to know that it has an established canonical storyline.
Sure.
But we had little throwbacks in terms of referencing some of the things that people would recognize, in terms of the way that he slams his chest, the way that he climbs and hangs on to things. You know, that's very much that one-handed side of the, you know, Empire State Building kind of vibe.
Sure.
So we did try and reference a lot of those touchstones of what Kong fans would recognize.
Cool. Mike's Monsters.
I know that some of the scenes were improvised. Like, I had lunch with Adam Wingard, and he told me that the Suko swinging around like a weapon was improvised. But how much was done that was like, how much of the scenes in the movies are not you? Like, whether they were just animators doing things, or would you know a percentage on these films? Like, I did the motion capture for that, or animators did that. Do you know?
In Godzilla versus Kong, it's about 50-50, I think.
Okay.
And
like, do you see a scene that you're like, that wasn't me, or something like that?
Yeah, for sure. Especially in Godzilla versus Kong. Godzilla X Kong, there's a little bit more of me in there, but it's more like there are fragments of scenes where I'm like, oh yeah, that's not me. We didn't do that bit. One thing I loved about Godzilla X Kong was just how much of that film they gave to Weta, in terms of to let Weta work on. There were other studios working on it, absolutely. but I think there was a lot of there were a lot of scenes that the other studios were working on that we also worked on.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than having cut like sections of the film, it was more like we're all kind of working on this as this weird kind of melange of different scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
Honestly, using Suko as a weapon, hands down, my most favorite thing I've ever mocapped. Absolutely, absolutely. Cocaine
Well,
Bear was super fun, but the
I wanna
day that they
know-
said, "Can you use him as a weapon?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?" That is the funniest thing ever.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
Michael,
So
go ahead.
I want to know, when you filmed that, when you had that captured right there, what were you holding in real life?
Yeah,
That's what I was
what
gonna
was
ask you.
it?
I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you
yeah.
that. Yeah.
So WetaFX made me a little Suko mannequin. So
No way.
yeah, so I had a little Suko basically, and then some big like boxing bags, like punching bags or tackle bags,
Uh-huh.
set up as the apes, and they were like, "Yeah, so those are the apes. Just go for it." And I was like, "Okay." And it was just like, wham,
See,
kick you,
This is
throw
stuff
'em.
that
I wish there was video of
the
this.
behind
I
the
wish there
scenes.
was
Yeah,
video.
for real.
Believe me, there is, and I am like furiously trying to get that footage because we filmed it at WetFX, but Warner Brothers owns all of the material,
Mm.
so I'm
Oh.
waiting for Warner Brothers to release it. Basically, I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
come
think-
on.
Because there's not a lot of behind the scenes footage of you or
Yeah, I
anything
couldn't
like that.
find
I had no
anything, yeah.
I had no
Right,
idea that
right.
you did motion capture until GXK. I didn't even
Yes,
realize in
okay.
GVK we had motion capture. But if we
Hmm.
had this footage, I think it would change the perspective quite a bit.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'm trying to get more of that behind the scenes footage released to me, at least to put on like videos when I go to conventions and stuff, when I do panels, or often
Yeah.
at my table I'll have an iPad just scrolling through the behind the scenes footage, because you're right, they don't often show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because after working on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, when Wes Ball was like, I want to release a version that has the mocap unedited, I'm hoping that will that begins to change the perspective so that audiences are a bit more open to it. Although
Yeah.
in saying that, I
Mhm.
remember the glorious time of DVD
Oh
when
yeah.
DVDs had special features and you had director's commentaries, you had behind the scenes, you had bloopers, you had
Yes.
unused scenes that got scrapped in the editing room floor, and they're like, let's chuck in special features.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
think the audience has always been there for that.
Still.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
still,
That
and it's
stuff is
still
why
young.
I got into monster photography. I used to watch the behind the scenes of Alien and Predator and saw how much fun they were having with making those movies, and it made me pick up my toys and create what they were creating in a way. And now I'm a
That's exactly it.
photographer full time, So it's like I really wish. I agree. It's like I wish that
Yeah.
stuff was out there. And that Wes Ball, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, like non CGI version of the movie was so awesome to watch. Like
Wow.
completely
Mhm.
different perspective of the film.
Yeah. Cool. I want to ask you, Alan. Michael, you have something to say? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say that I appreciated what they included on the King of the Monsters Blu-ray discs, because there was a lot of behind the scenes and motion capture they showed of King Ghidorah and everything in there. So I was a bit disappointed that I didn't see so much of it in the GXK stuff. But I think that I wonder if that's just because it's the director maybe being involved with it, of what kind of special features they want to put in there. I mean, I don't know. What do you think?
I honestly don't know, man. I've been racking my brain about why they do or don't have that sort of stuff available.
Yeah.
And yeah, to me, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
But who knows?
I mean, I think
Yeah.
even in the Godzilla versus Kong discs in 2021, those were light on special features too, by comparison.
Yeah.
By comparison,
I feel like
yeah.
all the Monsterverse films have been light. Like there's a little bit of that stuff, but there could be more. There could be more.
They
Mhm.
should
Yeah,
include it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
They really should.
Yeah.
They're gonna save it for the 50th anniversary version where they have to sell us on the Blu-ray again,
When
and
I'm
then they'll
dead.
pack it with never before seen features that have been in our vaults for 20 years. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to
that's
wait.
how they
that
get
long.
you.
Yeah.
That's how they get you. Absolutely.
I mean, that's how we saw the Akira Ifukabe scene for 2014. They've been holding on to that since till recently, and then they used that as a selling point for that box set.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I want to ask the fight scene. Okay, the final fight between Kong and Godzilla. How challenging was it to create this scene? And to my understanding, okay, was TJ Storm, did he do the motion capture for Godzilla in this movie, or did he not? I don't really know.
I don't believe he did do for this one. I don't think it was him. Which is a bummer because TJ's incredible. He's an amazing
Sure.
performer. Like in terms of my stuff, it was usually just me and a couple of other performers, and we just kind of figure out the fight scene beats and what needed to happen. And more often than not, it was like, I'm fighting boxing bags or punching bags, or I'm getting tackled, or like shoulder charge, so I can get knocked down and fall on things. It was we filmed a lot of it on a shot by shot basis. We would occasionally do larger sequences for the fight scenes, but yeah, it's interesting because Godzilla and Kong are very different in terms of the shape and the way that they fight. So the challenge comes from Kong has his fists and he has an axe, but we're dealing with he's fighting an opponent that has powerful jaws, he's got claws, he's got a tail, he has a gun, like he can literally shoot a laser beam at you. So it changes the way that you have to kind of figure out how to film these sequences. But it was still an immense amount of fun. It's just basically a room full of friends play fighting. And we were building little structures to climb on and run over and crash into, and you're going to get hit, and you're like, okay, like grab that kick shield, and you just stand there and get taken out by one of your friends who's just running at you.
Yeah. So here's a comment from Rick the Squirrel. TJ said at G-Fest 2023 that they wanted a faster, more aggressive Godzilla, which is why they didn't bring him back. Oh.
Yeah, that makes sense actually, because you can only push a human being so far, right? Like we're bound by the laws of physics, and often they'll want, in this digital world, in this virtual world, they'll want to push things a little bit faster to create more sense of scale or threat or power. So I'm not surprised that they would have done, because in order also for a human being to run as fast as they need, you would have to have a tail to counterbalance you. Yeah.
Sure.
So, and like there are wonderful photos of TJ with a tail when he did some of the King of Monsters stuff, but there's only so far that'll get you, right? And in terms of how much investment a studio is willing to make to get a performer the physical accompaniments that they need, in terms of if they have digilegs or if they have a tail that's counterbalanced or whatever, versus how much they want to invest in an animation team. Often I believe that they think that animation is cheaper for some reason, which is hilarious because it's never cheaper. It's not. Performance capture gets you so much so quickly, so that it's like when we do performance capture, you get this incredible foundation, which means that the animators can get to the polishing stage much faster, and they can start building even better stuff with what you've got. If they have to start at the very base, then they have to spend all that time building it to a place where it's going to work before they can start finessing it and embellishing it and improving it. But my job as a performance capture and TJ's job as a performance capture artist is to give you that foundation and build that foundation so that those embellishments and improvements can happen almost immediately. and then all of that time you'd spent on an animator building this animation scene, they've got all that time to spend improving and getting it to where you want it.
Sure. Okay. So let's continue on. I mean, you kind of discussed this scene already, which is like an awesome scene. Like when I saw that in the theater, and then like, because in the trailers, like we know that they're gonna be friends and stuff like that, right? But then to see the movie and then to see how this relationship starts off, I'm like, oh, like my wife, she gasped too, like when you take Zuko and you start throwing it around.
That was one of
I was
the best
laughing out
laughs.
loud.
Yeah.
I
It was one of the
laughing
best
out
laughs.
loud.
I got one of the early screenings of the movie, and that was like the theater was just howling at that. It's such a good scene. It's one that makes me laugh every time.
Yeah, you missed the next like 5 minutes of storytelling because everyone's too busy cracking up.
Yeah,
it's too good.
Yeah,
it is.
So
in fact, one of the original attempts we did it, Kong smacks everyone and throws Zuko, and originally they didn't have the shot where you see Zuko kind of get up and shake it off, and they were like, "Wait, did he kill Zuko? Is Zuko dead?" And they're like, "Okay, you need to see Zuko like get up and be like, blah, 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 just so you know that he's okay."
Yeah. That would have been great. Yeah, if they would have included that would have been great. Oh my god, because I did that in my toy photography, but like in the I think you've seen it, Alan. I put the anime eyes on Zuko just to make it look.
Yeah, it was definitely it was absolutely the most fun scene I've ever done. It was just so. I mean, I'm an inherently silly person anyway. I'm very silly.
Sure.
So for them to be like, just pick them up and use them as a weapon was like, yes.
That's hilarious.
Yes.
Did anybody do the motion capture for Zuko, or was that animated through animators?
No. Yeah, that was Zuko was a performer named Luke Hawker.
Okay.
And Luke is again an incredible movement performer. He's a 3D sculptor and animator for a Weta workshop.
Oh,
but he's been doing creature work as long as I have. He and I kind of grew up together in this industry, and he also worked with the current director Grant Sputore on I Am Mother. So he was inside the robot suit.
Oh.
So yeah, fortuitously, when Grant got the job, he called Luke and was like, "Hey, Luke, I've got the Godzilla Kong job. Do you want to come and do some work?" But so that was Luke, and Luke is a little bit shorter than me. He's not Zuko short. So there was a lot of times where I was on a platform and I was walking beside him so that our eye lines could be at the right spot, or we would be offset. So I would be over here, but then Luke would be over here, and we were acting like we were next to each other, and they'd do different scales and the volume. It was very, very, very cool. It was very cool what they were able to do.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was good fun, and he's a wonderful performer. He was originally actually going to be Skar King, and what was required for Skar King in terms of the length that he has, Luke was like, "Oh yeah, I think I've got it," and it just kind of wasn't quite working. And Luke was, Luke's wonderfully gracious and wonderfully humble. He was like, "Alan, you already know how to do it. Why don't you do it?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." He was like, "Yeah, I'll just be Zuko," which was great because then he could just focus on performing for Zuko, which is good because Zuko has a lot of emotional kind of story beats that he needs to go through.
Sure.
But in the scenes where Kong and Skar King are facing off, often that was Luke and I. Yeah. So often that would be Luke and myself. And based on what performance was the focus, if it was Kong or Skar King, we would just switch roles. So, like for instance, this one here, that's Luke behind me as Kong.
Oh, okay.
But when Kong grabs and throws him over, it's a mannequin. It's not Luke. So it's me throwing like a human-sized mannequin that they've got.
Oh,
but
wow.
then in the scene where Skar King reaches out and looks at the tooth, That's me as Skar King, but Luke as Kong. So there was this wonderful kind of back and forth between Luke and I, discussing what was happening and what needed to happen. And Luke and I worked so well together. It was very easy. He would just say, "What, like, how's this, Alan? Like, you put me in the right spot." And so I'd be like, "Okay, yeah, like chest here, arms here, do this." And he's like, "Yeah, great."
Cool.
Yeah.
And what was what was used for the whip? Like what prop was it? What did you use for that?
There were a number of things. Often it was, we would have a just a piece of like a rope, that someone would grab. Like this was, I think that was just one of the. We have like big kind of webbing rope that we sometimes use, similar to what people would use in the circus if they're doing rope work.
Sure.
When it came time to do the actual like chain whip stuff, we had a rope with a weight on it, kind of like if anyone who's done martial arts know, like a meteor hammer, something like that. So we would have a number of things based on what was needed for the shot. Yeah, and there were times when it was literally just the handle, and we would just mime the weight and the speed of it, and then the animators would take over.
Oh, okay.
Well,
yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, so now, there's often like imagination is such a strong part of this job because situations change based on what you have available, and you have to be able to use the power of your imagination to fill in the gaps in a way that is still believable in the world.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now, the introduction to this character in that movie was just so memorable. It's like one of my favorites,
fun.
Man. It was so good. Like you come out of the cave, and then that stance that he gives. Like we were talking earlier before we went on and things, and then like when you walk. And he has got like that swagger, but he's got that weight to him and things. I was like, oh man, this guy he's such a badass character. Like I really like that character. Yeah, but it's so unfortunate that like he got killed off in the
end. Yeah. Well, just like I mean, there's already enough of a rogues gallery that even more kaiju can turn up, but. Yeah, the process of finding that style for Skar King was super fun because Adam and Alessandro already had this idea of Skar King using his length, like his length to his advantage.
Sure.
And they it's funny because they used words like they had swagger, they had like slimy, suave. He had that ease and confidence of, he was like this kind of evil cowboy. There was nothing that he couldn't deal with, and the kind of arrogance that he had was just phenomenal. Yeah. But how do you translate that to a giant orangutan?
Sure.
So like for instance, when we do Kong, I have some arm extensions so that I can be on all fours if I need to.
Okay.
And for Skar King, they made the same but longer because they like this idea that when he's moving, you can see the length in his arms because they're here. They're not down here in front of him. So when he is traipsing through that crowd, like he takes up so much space.
Yeah.
Because he is that kind of like he's that bully. He's that very much like out of my way, don't come near me kind of thing. And then that arrival, that kind of the like swing into the lean wasn't even originally planned. It just kind of, they said, we just need him to kind of arrive, maybe be a bit sideways. And I was like, okay, how about this? And I started off doing this like ridiculous, like JoJo Bizarre Adventure, like real ridiculous lean. And they were like, no, that's too far. But then one of the animation guys was like, well, what if it's not as far? And then it really amplified his kind of, that very laissez-faire arrogance that he had, where he's like, I don't even have to square off. Like this is a waste of my time. Like I'm so above all of this. But they also wanted to give the audience that sense of surprise when he does suddenly move quite quickly, because he's got that length, right? So he can cover distance, which is why when he's stalking towards Kong, he very quickly plants both hands and launches himself quickly right in front of Kong. You know, so Skar King was always about these mind games of like, where am I? Where am I going to go? Am I here? Am I there? You don't know. You know, versus Kong, who's very much, the problem is here. I will turn and I will face it because I can handle it.
Yeah.
You know, Kong is very square.
Sure.
You know, and direct. Whereas, Skar King is just like, you know, he's just like the whip. He's just all over the place.
You know what the dynamic that I really like was that, you know, Kong, he's this big force, you know, while Skar King, physically, he doesn't have the muscle power that Kong has, but he makes up for it in his cunningness and his mobility, because like when he's a lot, I got the sense that he's just a way better fighter than Kong. You know what I mean? Especially with it when it comes to weapons. He's very dangerous with weapons and stuff. And but as soon as Kong was, you know, is in range and he gets a hold of him, like, you know, that then he's got problems. Is that
exactly? Yeah. And we tried to illustrate that with when you see Skar King, you know, doing like swinging out with the whip and like cutting his arm, and as Kong, you know, runs, he does, you know, for anyone who does capoeira, he does a macaco and he like kicks him in the face. So this idea that he moves around a lot, but then to see Kong not only flip him over, but then just literally pick him up and just slam him on the ground. Yeah. Like you say, that's exactly what they tried to, they were like, we want the audience to know that Skar King is fast and he's agile, and that's what makes him dangerous. But as soon as Kong grabs him, we have to remember that Kong is insanely powerful. Yes. You know, and just picks him up. Yeah, and because like he could, which is why it's so satisfying when he punches him in the face.
Yeah. I have a question. Rick asked, and it was a question that I wanted to ask you. Did you know, like prior to filming, like what kind of information were you given about this character? Was he meant to be like the scale of him and things? Like, was he going to be bigger than Kong, not, you know, taller than Kong? And can you give us some more insight on that? So like he asked, like Skar King was a big threat, where ultimately Shimo was. Apparently he was supposed to be larger. Was there a point where he was going to do more? Can you tell us?
Yeah, early on there were discussions about Skar King's scale. In terms of him being much bigger than Kong and the other Titan apes. Okay. I'm not sure what, if I had to hazard a guess, I would say just the sheer efficiency of getting them both in a scene necessitated Skar King coming back down.
Okay.
And Shimo was definitely, I think Shimo was actually going to be bigger as well. And they also wanted to play with this idea that if Skar King is bigger than Kong and bigger than Shimo, then it makes sense why Skar King can control Shimo. But by bringing Skar King's size down, then it makes Skar King's bullying and abuse of the crystal, it makes it more evil. So Skar King has to control Shimo through pain and through abuse, just like he has to manipulate all of the Titan apes around him, you know, because, you know, as we all know, there's power in the unions. If all of those Titan apes banded together and took on Skar King, they'd kill him. So he has to rule them with fear, and he has to rule Shimo with pain and abuse, you know? And so by making him smaller, it made his devious machinations more evil versus just being a big strong bully. Like if he could wrestle Shimo down, then you're like, okay, yeah, he's a bully. But you know, you want that thing of like, if only, which is what you see in the end, you're like, if only Shimo could have a chance to have that, you know, free will, would Shimo rebel against Skar King, you know, which she does eventually. So they really wanted to give him that, you know, the idea that bullies are bullies are bullies, and if you stand up to a bully, they can't survive, that kind of thing.
Awesome, cool. Michael, Mike's Monsters.
Was there anything you filmed for Skar King that didn't end up in the movie? I had been told that the entrance scene and that whole battle with Shimo and Skar King in the cave was meant to be longer, but because of budgetary and all the politics of things, it got cut down. Was there anything that you did for it that you're like remembering that you maybe did and you didn't see it in the film or anything? Or even just the rest of the movie?
Yeah, there were little bits. Like it was small. They kind of shortened or truncated a lot of those scenes. There was more time spent in Skar King's throne room, in terms of his relationship with the other like the mini Skar Kings, the other Sukos, and kind of the when One Eye comes in and tries to report about what's happening. There was more time spent in that where you see just how much of a jerk he really is in terms of the way he interacts with everyone. The fight was longer. We had more fight scenes. We had like drop kicks and like suplexes and big like clotheslines and more stuff with the whip. When Skar King discovers the force field and finds the Iwi tribe, there was a whole thing of him like arriving at the wall and trying to figure out what to do with it, and then smashing his way through and terrorizing the people that were there. So there, like, it wasn't necessarily that there were entire scenes cut out. It was more that scenes were simplified.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. We should have had him all, though. We needed more of him.
I agree.
We should definitely do like the spin-off, of like
Yeah.
Here's the
Allan, when you're playing this character, like how much information are you given about him? Like any like backstories to him? Like does that help with your performance of this character or anything like that?
Absolutely. The more prior knowledge that they can kind of divulge about a character, the better informed you are about the reasons why they make the choices they make, for sure.
Yeah.
And obviously there's more reference material for Kong than there is for Skar King. And so Skar King was a lot of I guess kind of creative license from all of us in terms of trying to achieve what they wanted to achieve.
Sure.
Because there's a bit of exposition in terms of when the human team goes down and finds the Iwi tribe, and they see all that history of why Skar King was sealed away and all that sort of thing. But in terms of what we were doing for the scenes with Kong and Skar King, especially, it was more about trying to give the audience the real sense of the threat that he is. Not necessarily his history, but more of just the present threat that he is right now. So you see the way that the others react to him. You see that the way Shimo reacts to him. So you start to build your idea of what kind of character he is in the moment.
Sure. Okay. So like, do they give you like information? Is like, oh, like he started the Titan War or anything like that? Like, a little
bit. Yeah.
Oh, they do, eh? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
a little bit. Yeah. Again, it's like we get given some reference material from the studio or from the client, and then also a lot of us just go onto the internet and try and find content ourselves and try and look at it like, oh yeah, this and that. And because again, I'm very new to this whole the kind of breadth of the kaiju world. Like I grew up watching a lot of kaiju films, but I didn't take the time to kind of really dive into all of these monsters and figure them out.
Sure.
So it's really great to kind of have the chance to do that now. And especially because so many members of this community, of this fandom, are like, what about this kaiju? And they mention things that I had no idea existed, or I didn't know what they were called.
Yeah.
And people are like, like the great kind of Godzilla versus Gamera debate that's going on. I didn't realize there was a thing. And then at G-Fest, people were talking about it, and I was like, oh, I see. But,
so you're getting stumped all the time. You're like, oh, I have no.
which is fine, because that's not
sure.
I say like, I don't know, but please tell me, please let me know what this is.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
so I dig it. I like finding this stuff out. It's very fun.
That's fantastic. Yeah, that's really cool, man. And I want to show So you mentioned him earlier, man.
Yeah.
And you
He's
said
so
that you play
cool.
video games with him. Like, do
Yeah.
you guys play like on PS5? Like, what do you guys do? Like, what do you play on?
We'll play something online. Like we might play something on like Steam or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, TJ plays a lot of Magic the Gathering, and he messaged me when he heard I was coming to San Diego, because we'd never met prior to this, and he was like, "Alan, brother, do you play Magic the Gathering?" And I said, "No, I don't know how it plays." And he's like, "I got you," and he built a commander deck for me based on King Kong and taught me how to play at San Diego Comic-Con. And
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, and then when I caught up with him in LA late last year, he was like, "Oh, hey man, do you play these video games?" And I was like, "I do play those video games." He was like, "Oh, cool, yeah, I got some friends, and we'll get together and we'll play and we'll chat and hang out." And I was like, "This is great." So yeah,
Awesome.
he's a big nerd, but he's also he's insanely talented and wonderfully generous. He's so cool. He when we were hanging out last time, he's like, "Would you want to come to LA and teach a workshop, at my school?" And I was like, "I would love to, yes."
Yeah. Yes, because I know he does have a school. Yeah.
He does, yeah, the Mind's Eye Tribe, where he trains performers to do performance capture for films and for video games and, to do stunt work. So it's really cool that he was, he was like, "Do you want to come and share that knowledge?" Because I love it. I love teaching this stuff. I want more people to, like it's that idea of like, be the person you didn't have growing up.
Sure.
And I didn't have this representation when I was young.
Yeah.
So if young Māori in Pacific Island, or even just young kids who are, like persons of color or in a low socioeconomic family, whatever, if they can see me, Allan Henry, doing it, then hopefully they realize that they can as well, right? Because I mean, that's the reality.
Yes.
If I can do it, anyone can do it.
Sure. And for my question, for those youngsters who want to follow in your footsteps, Allan, what advice can you offer? What are some key skills they need to develop? Any do's and don'ts, and where should they begin?
Good question. Very multifaceted question. This is a very physical job. So mechanically, be strong and fit and flexible, because this is the instrument you've got. You're using your body. Definitely hone your performance skills as well, because it's never just the body. You have to embody this character. So you have to understand what it means to have an internal world, an imaginative world for this character that they live in and they exist in. And you have to be able to dive into and inhabit the skin of that character without losing yourself in it, because you have to know the difference. And so, yeah, mechanically, be fit, be strong, be flexible, have an open mind, because people are going to ask you to do things that you may not have thought about, and it may be a wonderful idea that you can run with. Do's and don'ts. Do be a lovely person. That's that'll get you the job, and that'll keep you the job. Be a lovely person to work with. Be supportive. Ask for help. Offer help when it's available. Definitely advocate for yourself. Number one, always look after yourself. Because I guess don't think that this is your only opportunity either. It's so easy to get caught up in seeing all of the opportunities that you miss or that pass you by. Maybe you're not ready. Maybe it caught you by surprise. But remember that opportunities continue to happen. There will always be another opportunity. Always. And yeah, don't let the haters get you down, man. You'll never please everyone. And one of the best pieces of advice I ever got from a clown teacher, actually, who was teaching us some clown stuff, was when you come on stage, when you walk out into that space and you offer up your joke to someone and it falls flat, it's not that your joke was bad. It's just that that person wasn't ready to hear the joke. Find the person who laughed at it and go and give the joke to them. Give all of your energy to the person that likes your joke. You know, so don't get caught up, like, haters gonna hate. So don't give the haters any space. If you try something and it doesn't work, if you attempt, you know, if you take a punt and you try and make a short film and it doesn't win an Oscar, you've still made a film. Someone's going to enjoy it. You know, you'll find your people out there. And just because someone doesn't enjoy my version of Kong doesn't mean that they're not allowed to enjoy Kong. You know, I'm creating these things that I create because I love doing it. And if I find other people that love it, then we can have a connection. We can hang out. But if someone doesn't enjoy it, they're allowed to. They're allowed to enjoy whatever they want. And if they don't like it, they don't like it. That's not my problem. In terms of the work stuff, if you want to do this kind of work, if you've done the training and you're taking classes and you're learning, you know, performance stuff, performance methodologies, and you're researching animals, a great piece of advice I got from another Godzilla actor, funnily enough, was put yourself where the work is. Find out who's doing the stuff you want to do, where they are, and if you can, try and get yourself there. It doesn't guarantee that you'll get a job right away, but you'll be surrounded by the people doing the stuff you want to do. You'll get to know them. You'll get to meet them. You'll find the people you vibe with, and they're the ones that will help create opportunities, or that you will work with to build those opportunities. So put yourself where the work is. And I think the stark reality of this business is some of us are going to have to work a lot harder than others to achieve what we want to achieve. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't work hard. Absolutely. Always work hard. And yes, just accept the fact that some of us are going to have to work harder than others. But you can only really control yourself and your reaction to things. So, you know, nobody said life's going to be easy. Life is full of challenges, but struggle is what makes you stronger. And if you can find your people, if you can find the people that support you and look after you, then navigating those challenges is going to be easier.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I totally relate to that. Cool. So, is there any character that you would like to play that you haven't yet, Allan?
Oh, that is a good question. There are so many. But it's funny enough, Rob brought something up earlier. I really want to be a Gundam. Like, I want to be a giant robot. Like, Pacific Rim would be okay. Like, being a Jaeger would be all right. But like, yeah, my introduction to robots was like Gundam and, like, you know, Pat Labor and, you know, eventually things like Voltron and Power Rangers and things like that. But yeah, being a big robot for sure. Absolutely. I was so gutted because I think they've shut down the moving Gundam in Japan.
Yes.
It's no longer a thing. And I wept when I saw that, because I was like, but aw.
I mean, with Kong, you kind of were a giant robot, because in the concept art they showed, or in the schematics, they showed it as Gypsy Danger's arm before you get the thing attached. So you can kind of say you were.
Kind of. Like, yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool.
I think, but there are so many. You know, we don't get a lot of sci-fi franchises out here, and I'm a huge fan of sci-fi. So, you know, I would love to do a bit more of that sort of stuff. Yeah,
cool.
Give me a lightsaber, make me a Jedi.
Nice.
Kathleen Kennedy, if you're listening. But, you know, like Star Trek, Star Wars. You know, we did a little bit of stuff for Rebel Moon, the legally distinct, not Star Wars. But also, like, you know, Mandalorian, Andor were brilliant series. They were so much fun.
Yeah. Cool.
So yeah, there's still so much to do that I really want to do, and I would love to keep doing.
Cool.
For
So
sure.
that goes into my final question before we go into other topics. Are there any personal goals that you are working towards? Any dream projects for yourself, sir?
Oh, yeah. So when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cartoon character when I grew up. And so currently the focus is like, I'm never going to be a character, but could I possibly be the voice of a character in an animated series? That would be fun.
I wanted to be that too. Donald
Yeah,
Duck.
for sure. Yeah. Dude, that's so good.
Pretty good.
That's so good.
Damn.
That,
You've been sitting on this impression for how long, Harold?
Oh my god.
that's incredible.
Holy
That's
crap.
fantastic.
Y'all watching better be clipping this.
Yeah,
Seriously.
for sure.
We found our next Donald Duck.
Yeah.
You don't know what you've done.
You gotta
That's the
host
good
a whole
thing, though.
episode like that now. Hey, next review, you gotta
Yeah,
do it just like
yeah.
that.
Next review, you gotta do it as
Donald
well.
We're gonna-
reviews. Yeah.
No, we're the next thumbnail that Harold's gonna have is making a duck face, holding his figure while he's flexing, doing a duck face.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what is?
There it is.
Pause it, screen cap it, everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of dream projects, there's so many. I've got friends who make, who are working for like video game companies. It'd be awesome to be a character in a video game, because I love video games, you know, and the technology is getting so precise and so accessible that, you know, it's becoming easier for people to do that.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So this Rick the Squirrel, I need to ask Alan this. Is there any lore stuff you know about the Monsterverse that hasn't been told from previous movies? Like, did Skar King start the Titan War?
Oh, I honestly, I don't know. And because there again, I'm very new to all of this sort of stuff. So the stuff I was told was only what was pertinent to the film at the time. Even if they did tell me, I'm under NDA, so I'm legally obliged not to answer that question.
Got it.
Usually,
Cool.
I was gonna say I don't think you're gonna get
Yeah.
that answer, even if you wanted it.
Yes.
So
So-
who knows, Rick? Maybe I do know. Maybe I don't.
Yeah.
It's whatever the movies say. The movies will tell
Yeah,
us, and that's what the rules are.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's change gears now. And Alan, I spoke to you before we went live. Like, a lot of us like to do toy photography. Michael and Mike's Monsters, we like doing toy photography with our figures and stuff. And you know, and we wanted to just to double check with you. You're the one that knows this character better than anyone about the posture. Like, this will be helpful for me also as a toy photography. Like, you know, between this posture and this posture, which one would be more recommendable for what situation, I guess, is what we're asking.
So the second pose is that feels a little more akin to Skar King in terms of the fact that the way that Skar King looks at things.
Sure.
I think it would be very odd to find a moment where Skar King actually presents himself square to any kind of challenge. Simply
Like this.
because, like that's very much something Kong would do.
Okay.
Because Kong knows that he can handle whatever you throw at him, so he just squares up and he's ready to take it.
Sure.
But because of how cunning and how calculating Skar King is, a lot of the time he has a very predatory look he looks through his eyebrows because he's constantly assessing something.
Sure.
But he will often be presenting some sort of shape that is never straight, because he wants you to know that, or he wants you not to know which way he's going to go. So he's trying to present many angles in the way that he moves, So he's often looking out the side or has his head turned because his body is ready to go wherever it needs to. And he's so mobile and agile, he can go in any direction at any point. So Skar King often will have presented his silhouette in a way that looks like he could go anywhere.
Sure. Okay, because this is a side shot. So this is not at any point like this is anything like Skar King would do. This is a Kong posture.
The very kind of the very straight, strong nature of it is very Kong.
Yeah. And this posture is more akin to Skar King himself.
Yeah, especially if he was stalking towards something. And he would, because it's the idea that he has all 4 limbs on the ground, or at least 3 at any point, so that should he need to go anywhere, he's able to. But he's always, once he's always like, for instance, he's either here in this ready to go kind of posture, or he's presented himself in that laid back, kind of bent over, casual. Even when he's sitting on his throne, he's never sitting like this. He's always, leaning somewhere. Yeah, he's never, he's kind of, I mean, he's artfully draped across his throne, but it's never just, straight ahead.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So with Skar King, it's always about these kind of angles and never really giving you the full picture.
Okay. Yeah. So that's more so like in the photography that I did of this character, I was how much was I precise or in the ballpark? Like how was
you were? No, you're really close in terms of, especially in some of the action shots of Skar King with some of your photography, because when it's go time, Skar King is almost always moving. He's always moving sideways or picking something up or throwing something or using the whip. Even when he's summoning Shimo, it's never just pick up the thing and push it. He makes a big show of the full extension, pushing the activating the crystal. Even in the point where Shimo doesn't do what she's told, he changes the angle. So there's all this movement in the way that he does things. It's never just a little like bleep 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 bleep. Yeah. There's a pageantry to him, which because he's trying to give that maximum threat that everything is available, everything's moving.
Very theatric.
Very much so. Yeah, he just wants you to know always that he's aware of what's going on.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for this insight. Yeah, because
my pleasure.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Thank you.
This is awesome. It's also, it's a wonderful touchstone to the early stop motion films that we all grew up with. Like I love because we had a thriving miniatures kind of industry here with like the Lord of the Rings and a lot of the films that were happening around that time. And then there's been the big shift towards digital. So like miniature photography doesn't happen as much. It still does. They did a lot of miniatures for Blade Runner 2049 and for some of the other films. So it still happens. But it's a lost art. And I really, really love like that miniature, like diorama photography, because you can, create so much wonderful action.
Sure.
I've got a wonderful friend who does photography, landscape photography using water. So he builds these landscapes and then basically fills a tank with water.
Oh wow!
So the whole thing is underwater, and then he'll like use movement in the water and put like material in the water, and then photograph it so it looks like you have this wonderful eerie landscape because the water, the light is hitting the water weirdly, and there'll be something. Maybe there's a cloud in the background that looks incredible because it is literally a suspended kind of this material suspended in the water, or he might do something where something cuts through the water and it creates these wonderful juxtapositions in terms of focus. It's very cool. So all of this kind of miniature photography is great. I love it.
Cool. So let's get into some toy news. Okay, so because this is like what we love, right?
Mhm.
And Haya Toys just recently, man, they just set the whole world on
Look
fire
at
again.
that.
Look at that, man. Look at that. And there's you, Alan.
Yeah, yeah. There he is. Look at him.
Alan, what are your thoughts on looking at this, especially the Kong figure and Shimo? What are your thoughts? What's going through your mind as you look at this?
Well, I mean, I'm a big kid. I'm a big child. So I'm just looking at this going, these are so cool. These are so cool. They're such cool toys. If you had told me even 2 years ago that I, through my work, would be attached to a toy line or a line of toys, let alone, such a prestigious line of toys, like it wouldn't make sense. So now to again, like I said earlier, I can't claim ownership of the character because so many of us have been Kong beforehand.
Sure.
But to be part of this wonderful lineage and to see that represented in the toys, I'm super excited. Like I love it. I think it's very cool. Because I'm I love toys. I love them.
Yeah. Cool.
It's very cool. I love the points of articulation because you can get them where you need to get them.
Yeah. What does your son think about that? Like you playing this character, and then like there's toys of it. Like what goes through your son's mind about that?
I honestly don't know. I don't know. Gus is very keeps it he keeps it cool. I know that every time we do see a Kong, he's like, "Hey, Dad, look, it's you." So I think Gus understands kind of the situation that we find ourselves in.
Sure.
I mean, he has some of them. He has some of the Kong toys. He's got a little Suko like vinyl pop, and we've got some little Kong toys and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
I Allan Henry, I like to think that he thinks I'm a cool dad, but who knows, man? Who knows?
I think you are a pretty cool dad. Yeah, for sure. I mean, how can you not be, man?
Did you bring
I'm
him to
trying.
G Fest? Did you bring?
I
him
did.
'cause I feel like I saw a bunch of photos on social.
Yeah,
Looked
yeah.
like you guys had a good time there.
We did. It was great.
That's
bringing
some
him to G-Fest. It was
that's
very
some cool dad stuff right there, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when he was gutted when he found out he couldn't come to San Diego Comic-Con with me though. So I think I've got to make up some ground there.
Yeah.
But he's
always
as
the
interested.
future.
Yeah, exactly. He's interested in Japan as much as I am. So Gus has
Cool.
made me vow that I will take him to Japan if I get a Japan con. So
Oh man,
yeah.
Japan is so awesome, Alan. I mean, you will have such a fantastic time. I love Japan every single time I go. It's incredible.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Sir.
So yeah, fingers crossed that
Yeah.
more cons
So-
will ask for me.
Want to show you more photos of just like the posture of Skar King. So
Go
how
for
does this look?
Yeah, I like there's again, I like the fact that it isn't straight up. You can see a lot of you can see lines of action and curve in him and the way that he's holding the crystal as well.
Sure.
And there's a nice again to be very broad in terms of stereotypical with it. The hunched over kind of posture of it gives it a more predatory, meaner look to what he's doing. Because he's never politely pushing the button on the thing, right?
Sure.
He's always threatening and hurting Shimo when he does it. It's always a threat. It's always a negative, harmful thing.
Okay. Cool. Let me just show you another one. This one. This is Michael's photography, so I just wanted to share that with you guys. Give me a second here. Thank you for that, Michael.
You got it.
This here.
Oh, look at that! That's awesome.
So, any thoughts? Anything that we could that needs tweaking, like for the posing, like when he's throwing the whip and things?
Yeah, I think does the whip just come in that shape, or is the whip? Can you articulate the whip as
bendable.
well?
It's bendable.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Okay,
Yeah, it's on a wire.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I would say because of the shape that Skar King is in this picture, he's 3 points of contact, right? He looks very stable. He's very kind of upright.
Mm-hmm.
So the angle of the whip, it's from my perspective, it's hard to see if he's retracting the whip or if he's about to throw it forward.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to change anything, I would say maybe the line of action in his spine and his posture needs to be pushed a little bit further, so you can see that idea of he's leaning in to throw something, or is he pulling something back?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I was going for more of a pulling back.
Yeah.
So it's in the process of doing this before he goes forward again.
Yeah, and then I think you've got that in his head and his arm that's coming up. Like I think you've nailed that shape.
Mm-hmm.
I think if anything, maybe then there needs to be more of a backwards position with his torso, or maybe his legs out front, just so you get the idea that there's more of his weight pulling it backwards.
Sure. Cool. So I would like to show you mine, Alan. So if you can just give me a second here.
But still, that looks great, Michael. That's very cool.
So this is my recreation of the anti-gravity fight scene in the Hollow Earth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was a fun scene to try and figure out.
There's two characters to provide notes on.
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, but also you're like, okay. So we're dealing with zero G, right?
Yeah.
I think, like, man, yeah. How do you give notes on zero G, because all of the rules of gravity don't exist? I mean,
but even in zero G, he still has that posture. Is that correct? Because it's just his nature.
Yeah. In the zero G thing, there's only so much that these creatures could do in terms of how they organize their bodies, because a lot of their momentum came from pushing off from some of the larger rocks, right?
Sure.
So I would say, for instance, for Kong, there's a shape, the shape that you've got with his knee coming up and his arm, the lower arm.
Mm-hmm.
It gives a sense that there's a contraction. Like it feels like a lot of the energy is being pulled towards the center. And I wonder if you reversed the position of those legs, so that there was space between that lower leg and that first arm, if that would change the way that trying to read where the momentum and the energy is coming from. Again, but it's zero G, so a lot of this stuff is just so hard to figure out, because we were having these exact conversations when we were filming these scenes,
Yeah.
Because you're trying to give the sense that they have some sort of weightlessness, right? Whilst still trying to create lines of action, because like ultimately what you've got is you've got wonderful silhouettes for the both of them in terms of like Skar King's shape, those with an arm out front and the arm up the back, the legs being pulled up close to the chest, Kong reaching forward, like roaring first before the fist comes down and slams. Those are wonderful lines of action. So what you've got is good. It's great. Tweaking it for the sake of tweaking it, like if we say that looking at Skar King's shape, right? You have a shape like this, right? That kind of shape.
Right.
If at the moment it feels like Kong is kind of doing this, so there's almost like a mirroring
Uh-huh.
But if there was something where Kong's shape was a bit more kind of the opposite, where they would mirror, like kind of reflect each other that way, what
Sure.
shape does that give you? You know, or in terms of, because I mean, again, like I'm just making shit up here. This is a great photo. Like it's a good photo.
Thank you.
You
Thank
know?
you. Yeah, because I'm trying to use like the whip to help frame both the characters too.
Yeah.
So
And it's great. It's a great little prop. I didn't realize
Cool.
it's bendable. That's so cool.
Yeah, it is totally bendable. Yeah. Let me show you another one. This is my perspective of like that really cool scene, but like from Kong looking up and like if I were to do this scene, like if I were the director to do, if I, you know what I mean? Like this is like my idea. So you see Kong in the lower right-hand corner, and you have Skar King looking down. So yeah. But you know what? Like
great.
I found it pretty challenging just to get him to do that lean that you were talking about, like in that movie, because you know it is a toy after all. You know what I mean? It's like a plastic thing, so it's like just to try and get it, especially at that angle, to try and capture that feel.
Yeah.
But how would you say like on point is it that fits the character?
That's a great shot. It's great. It's really, really close because
Thank you.
I think there is a lean in the torso that is also accentuated by his head shape, right?
Yes.
So it like he has the careless kind of suave laid backness of it all, but still, you know, there's enough of the threat in terms of like he's snarling, his teeth are out, you know, the whip is right there. And like, the only way you could get more of a lean would be to do something with the legs, which may change how that whole thing looks.
Yeah. I'm actually using a little stand, like I'm hiding it like right behind his leg, because like just to get that lean, because if not, he's just going to keep falling over, you know what I mean? So I'm using a stand, and it's right behind his leg, but like but I'm doing the best to hide it, you know. So
I think I think a common theme that I've seen with all of the images that you show me so far is that what both you and Michael have got are absolutely work for what you're trying to do. And if anything, you could maybe push, like accentuate the silhouette a little bit more to give a stronger sense of of the shape you're trying to make in the scene.
Sure.
You know, but in terms of a great scene of, you know, a great shot of looking up towards Skar King, that's great. That looks fantastic. I like the nice little the French over. It's very cool.
Yeah, and finally, one more I want to share with you is this one right here. He's in his throne room and he's just basically intimidating everybody. This one.
Yeah.
So like as you said, like I was trying to like use his limbs, you know, try to fill up the space that he's in. Things. Cool.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much on point.
Yeah, it's great. There's you can see that angle, and you can see how long he is. There's a nice forward, like that forward predatory motion from the head, and the like the threat of that knife is good as well. Like you've got the like it's quite compact.
Yeah.
Yeah. If like again, if I had to tweak it for tweaking's sake, I'd say, is there something we can change about the feet, because they're both on the same plane,
right?
And if you wanted to give him more of something that was a bit more off, or seemed a little bit more like unsettled, one of them could be a little bit higher or bent at a different angle.
Because
they're
instead of both being flat.
Yeah, because it's very stable. Like it's it still works, especially if he's, you know, like. Maybe something doesn't have to be much. Maybe one of the feet is, you know, bent forward, like it's prepared, like it's coiled up, ready to push forward.
Cool. Okay. Oh, okay.
I think
didn't
with these
consider that.
with these figures in particular, like with Skar King in particular, like you just to really push its dynamicness, you got to have a stand to kind of hold
Yeah,
it because it's just like
absolutely.
the legs are significantly smaller versus the rest of the body, and when it comes to
Yeah.
length, so
And he's
it's
top.
very top heavy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
top
So
heavy. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
becomes more of a balance. So you end up. So sometimes with our photography, I feel like we sacrifice a little bit of that dynamicness when we're not
Mhm.
using stands because we are trying
Mhm.
to use those legs to balance it
Yep.
and hold it
Yep.
up right there. I think it's what we're seeing right here with Harold's photo in particular, right where the
Yeah.
legs or the feet are kind of flat on the ground.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Exactly. For stability's sake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Again.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for your input, Alan. Very, very helpful. Very
Like,
insightful.
Show him
the
show
least
him
I
my
could do.
Kong's show him my Kong's Skar King choking him out.
Oh, did you send that? Because I don't. Let me go back into the email. Hold on a second.
That's cool.
It's not here.
It's in the group chat.
No?
Check the group chat.
It's in the
you can
group chat,
download
yeah,
it.
but not in the email. Hold on, let me see
Really?
if I can. Yeah.
Oh yeah, here, let me send it. For
Okay.
some reason, it didn't upload everything. That's weird. I have it right here though.
The internet strikes again.
Technology.
Technology.
Well, I shared it from, you have the share feature, so I did that, but apparently it didn't upload everything, so
Yeah, it's not
very
here.
weird. Give me a second, I'll send it to you.
All right, cool. All right. So while we're waiting on that, let's look at the other stuff here. So yeah, I can't wait to get all these guys, and I'm still waiting for that Toho line Godzilla 91 on the far right. I'm waiting for that one. And King Ghidorah. Oh my god. Look at this. Godzilla 2000. Jesus, Murphy. Yeah.
2001 looks like he told a joke and he's like, "Huh? Everybody? Huh?"
Yeah, that's the joke eyebrows there. Huh?
Yeah.
So comedy hands as well.
Yeah.
All right, I sent it.
Ghidorah, am I right? Ah.
Hey.
What's the deal with airline food? Now I can't unsee it.
Yeah, sorry. I think I have like something like that. Like every stream, I say something. You guys are like, "Damn it, Mike."
Ugh.
I got it. I got it, Michael. Hold on a second.
But whatever
Alright.
joke he did tell, Ghidorah's laughing at it.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
three of them.
All three of them, yeah.
It's the cackle.
Yeah.
I feel that Ghidorah would laugh at any joke. You know what I mean? Just for the sake of laughing. I did have a
Does
friend
it-
like that back in elementary. He would laugh at any joke just to make the other person feel better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to show support.
Exactly.
That's a real champion, man.
What a kind person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why he's called King Ghidorah.
All right, so here it is.
Oh, yeah.
I had a lot of fun
Well-
making this pose.
Such a good shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Any tweaking here that you could that needs or saying, given what's happening?
I mean, it does what it tells the story you're trying to tell, right? Like you can
Yeah.
see that Skar King has used his length to get around Kong's throat. I mean, both of their faces are in shot. You've got that nice perspective with the beast glove. If again tweaking for the sake of tweaking, maybe is there a way to get his back arm interacting with that beast glove arm, as though he's trying to like push it away or hold it? So there's this idea that not only is he choking him, but he's also trying to control that arm. So you get that sense of Skar King just being
yeah.
all over Kong. You know, he's just
I didn't
monstering
think
it.
about that. Yeah, I didn't think about that when I was posting that. I had it. I think I have his other arm posed so that it's doing a kidney shot.
Oh yeah, so it's down here. Yeah. I
Right.
mean, yeah, in terms of like what we've got here, yeah. If there was something where the arm was under and then this was grabbing the beast glove, like it's trying to pull that arm away or control that arm or something, just to
I
get
think it could
even
reach.
more of an.
I think it could do it.
Hmm.
I think it
Cool.
can.
Yeah.
Might
Yeah,
have to
I
heat
still
treat
have
that
yet to work
shoulder,
on
but I
this
think it
shot
can work.
myself, but yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Awesome.
90-degree bend at the
Really
arm?
interesting feedback. I love this.
Rob. Oh man,
Alan, a
cool.
lot of
Thank-
people were saying like arms can't move more than 90%, so we're ragging on that.
Oh,
90 degrees. I'm sorry, 90 degrees.
90 degrees. Yeah, right.
Yeah, but they can.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm sorry.
That's good. Though.
Yeah. Okay, so one last question from Rick the Squirrel.
Hmm.
Sorry to keep asking this. Skar King is supposed to be an orangutan, like, right? Usually an alpha male who has a dominant leader to his cheek pads. What do you think? Yeah, he's gonna be.
Yeah, I think Skar King is supposed to be. I don't think he's supposed to be an orangutan. Like I think the orangeness, the redness,
Mhm.
was a choice to make him somewhat distinct in terms of, because Kong is very much a gorilla. He's big, he's broad, he's broad chested, big powerful arms, shorter legs, that big like neck and kind of head vibe, and they just wanted Skar King to have power in terms of the length of him.
Mhm.
So like orangutans have these incredibly long arms, but so do other apes. So I think I don't think he was supposed to be a orangutan only. I think he was supposed to have like elements of like an orangutan / Gigantopithecus, and that kind of those like you see the way that like gibbons have their like the length of their arms, and I think it was just, it's almost like if Godzilla's built like a fridge, then Skar King is built like a bag of noodles. He's supposed to be noodles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's
So they
cool.
wanted for all of Kong's compact strength, they wanted Skar King to be the opposite. They wanted him to be the long, lanky, dangerous, whippy one. But no, that's whippy wappy. That's a good question though, because you're right. Everyone sees red and they instantly go orangutan.
Sure.
Because that's the only red one we have.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool.
And also, orangutans, one of the strongest primates.
Yes.
Like physically one of the strongest.
Yeah.
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 Could tear you
He'll
apart.
rip your arm off. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Just snap you
Yeah.
like a piece of pasta.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Piece of pasta.
But
Yeah.
they don't, because they're like,
Yeah.
like they're the most zen primate ever. They use just the right amount of energy, which is not a lot.
Alan, I have a question.
Yes.
When in the scenes when Skar King is riding Shimo, okay, he's riding her like on her back.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And doesn't he get pricked by these spikes?
No. See, that's a question we asked. No, he doesn't, because he doesn't ride Shimo as though she has a saddle.
Okay.
So he literally stands on Shimo's back in between the spikes and like grabs one of the leading spikes in front of him and kind of rides, that way. Like he's kind of surfing on the back of Shimo.
So his butt is not resting right on her then.
No.
He's like kind of squatting on her, basically.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much
okay.
so. Yeah.
That would be very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I was when I was looking at that, and then like I see some people.
Like, oh, yeah, that's why he's always so angry. Like,
It's got a crystal in his ass.
Yeah,
he's always working. Can never just take a break and sit down.
Never take a break. Yeah, he's just always got to be working.
Yeah.
And those crystals are probably super cold as well, so it's probably really uncomfortable being in the midst of that.
Yeah.
But we had to like really think about that, because originally he was going to sit at that point where her neck kind of meets the top of her spine, where there's less spikes, and they were like, "Oh, you could just straddle that," and we were like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I guess." But what if he's like literally surfing on the back? You know, then he can like hold the axe up, and he can kind of stand there and do what he needs to do.
Sure, yeah, because I've been because this figure just the SH Monster Arts version just recently released, and like I've been seeing some people like put Skar King like right on the back of her neck. You know what I mean? Which doesn't look to me doesn't look right. It's like, how can I get this character to saddle? And then that's why I asked you, like, is he always riding like on on her spikes, or he's squatting on her?
Yeah, he kind of squats on the on her back.
Okay.
In the midst of the.
That makes more sense now. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. All right. And Allan, what do you think of the scale between Shimo and the Kong figure here? Should Shimo be bigger? What do you think?
Yeah, Shimo should absolutely be bigger. Because in the film, when you see that final shot of like the family all together, like Kong, his head is at the top of like her shoulder. Like the top of her front leg.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a big girl.
Okay. I guess they can't really 1-to-1 these figures, you know what I mean, for like cost sake or whatever.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I was gonna say like they could, but
I mean the SH Monster Arts looks like it might be closer to that scale. We need. I don't feel like I've seen a proper photo of that just yet.
Yeah, and
it's
also
pretty
when you're
big.
making,
it's pretty big. It's pretty big compared to the Kong figure.
Yeah,
it's much bigger. Like if you looked at these two, Shimo's definitely like the shoulders above Kong's head.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Okay. Anyways, I'm going to enjoy these figures either way. So
yeah, same here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Alrighty, and look, what I was telling you earlier, Allan. This is you. And look at the articulation work on this guy.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And even the on the door let me show you again. I'm going to show you the one that I have in my hand. Okay. So you can see the comparisons.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a big change here in the midsection.
Yep.
The arms to this guy right here. Look at him. Whoa.
Yeah.
Even in the shoulders.
Yep. Yeah.
My
do the shoulders have 2 points of articulation in the shoulders?
There's just I think this part here is a free floating piece, and then because the one that I have doesn't have it. You see that? Yeah. So man, they've reworked this figure entirely, and like I think it's coming out at the same price still. Is that correct?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do they do it, man?
That's quarter 2, 2025, right?
Or 3.
So.
Or whatever.
Yeah, whenever. And even like on the legs. Look at the legs. Like there's thigh cuts now on this. On this one, doesn't have it.
It's just hip to knee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the Monster Arts doesn't have a thigh cut. That seems different.
It's a little scary.
I can't wait for this one, man. My goodness.
This is also
Allan,
the first Kong figure that actually uses the CGI data.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
wow. A lot of them are all hand sculpted.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, this is like the first one that's like, 1-to-1 almost. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
Are you motivated to pick this up yourself, Allan, seeing these photos?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
They should just send them to you.
They should just send one to you.
Agreed.
They should just send me all of the toys.
They should.
Just all of them.
See, you got to add that into your contract agreement before you start.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's what Guillermo del Toro does. Yeah.
It
is.
See, I need to. Yeah. It'll be in my rider every.
That's what's going to make you lose the
Send
job.
me
They'll
the
be
toys.
they're going to make you lose the job by putting that in your contract. They'll be like, we can't afford this guy now.
Bro wants all the toys.
Bro wants a $50 figure. Heel broken.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
executive producers can't buy their Lamborghinis if they're buying me toys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
And I'm
it looks so
excited.
good.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, it just looks so good. But also having the like flat grayscale, because I play a lot of like tabletop RPGs and I 3D print a lot of minis. I look at that and I'm like, I could paint that too. Just sit there and paint that.
That's cool.
Pong and
Yes.
Warhammer would go hard.
Oh,
I'm
man.
very excited for this one.
Yeah, look at that.
Because it lights up, but not only that, it's got the same articulation engineering as the 2014, but only in the arms, not in the legs. I did reach out to Haya, asking them if they were going to put the new articulation in the knees, and they said no. And I go, well, I don't know how far you guys are into the production, but it would make more sense for this Godzilla to have those knees, because in the movie he gets down on all fours and he attacks Kong that way. You know what I mean? It's better to have a complete figure. And then they wrote back, very interesting take. I'll ask the development team. We'll get back to you on that. So I was like, okay. Yes, but I did ask, because of the LED nature of this thing, I'm assuming, that keep water away from this guy, right? And they're like, yeah, totally, keep water away.
Yeah,
sure,
definitely.
Yeah, but yeah,
still, what a great use of LEDs though. That's so cool.
Oh man, I can't wait for this thing. Yeah. And then going to the SH Monster Arts, we're finally getting King Ghidorah, and I'm eagerly and waiting for the release of that. Is somebody getting arrested?
Certainly not
Yeah.
I.
Yeah, I think it was an ambulance.
All that talk of sending me toys, they're like, get cops right there now. Alert to the authorities.
They're about to arrest me before I spill the detail.
Yeah.
That was my warning.
Question.
Yes. Alrighty. Yeah. So I was in Japan for Godzilla Day when I saw this Anguirus in hand.
Yeah.
And he's like a spiky softball. But they haven't shown the King Ghidorah yet, which is I'm very excited. I've been like King Ghidorah after Godzilla and Kong in the lore. King Ghidorah is like my next favorite monster. So like I geek out every time when there's like a new King Ghidorah. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Should have been Megalon. I'm sorry.
Yes. And
Hey, but we're a step closer, though. We're a step closer now that they finished the Gigan cast. So
yeah.
Yes.
And
That's
Lin
very
Jing-hun, they just recently Kyle, you have this in hand, the Gypsy
So
Avenger. Oh
good.
man, I'm so jealous that you
good.
have it.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah,
That is
she's really good.
blue.
Loaded with accessories and some major improvements over Gypsy Danger, actually.
Yeah, because she should be, because she's like a Mark 6 Jaeger.
Oh, I meant in terms of the toy, Harold. But like,
Okay, well,
Sorry, you gotta put your glasses on and be like, actually, it's a
well, I am wearing glasses too.
That's how it goes in these toy communities.
Can do that.
Yeah.
Actually.
Actually.
That's why we asked you about the Skar King posing, because we've had people going, well, actually, and it's like, well, let's talk to the guy who actually played the guy.
Yeah.
Actually, I need
You
these
shut
on.
down a lot of discussion tonight. We'll put it that way.
Oh, sweet. That's fine.
Yeah, awesome.
Ugh.
So, Kyle, when is that review going up for Gypsy Avenger?
I just got her yesterday. But it'll be this week for sure. It'll be this
Okay.
week for sure. Maybe 2 or 3 days. But
Yeah.
she's really good. Really good.
Oh man, I can't wait for that one. Yeah, I'll be getting mine like after when Calcus Toys, goes back to work, because they're on their holiday right now. So
Right. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I am happy that I do have the Omega Beast, this one right here, and I can't wait to work on this guy. Yeah,
Little Gerard.
Gerard?
Gerard.
Yeah, I nicknamed him Gerard because the movie Monster series has the black nails. And
Oh, yeah.
lot of My Chemical Romance at that point in time during the year, so I just called him Gerard.
Got it.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Okay, I've been getting these questions repeatedly. I have no idea. Okay, it
Mhm.
comes out when it comes out. Okay, I have
Yeah.
no idea.
I think
Okay.
look at 2014 as an example.
Mm.
That one
Yeah.
was supposed to come out, and then it was radio silence, and then it just dropped out of nowhere. So I think that's what you should expect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, with Lunar New Year, we know that if you don't hear anything in like the next week, you're probably not going to hear anything until March.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
So yeah, and
We don't
might-
know
I
anything.
We don't know anything. We don't
Yeah,
know
we
anything.
don't.
Yeah. No.
And if we
And-
did, we couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we don't know.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't know anything.
We want it just as bad as you do.
Yeah.
And then Star Race did release this two versions of this. This is the deluxe version with the LED
Jeez.
and $400 on this guy, 30 centimeters. Yeah, I don't know. I want a 7-inch Haya figure, and I know I'm waiting on that Omega Beast version of this guy, so he's gonna be huge. So yeah.
The
Alan,
red
did
you
does
do
look
any-
delicious, though.
What was the mocap like with Mechagodzilla? Did you do anything with somebody for that, or were you climbing on somebody and ripping their head off and then screaming towards the sky?
Yeah, a little bit of the latter. So it would have been cool to try and do mocap for Mechagodzilla actually, but we weren't given that sequence, so we did bits and pieces, and yeah, the kind of the reaching over and the grab and the like, that's we did a version of that was very much like like a Mortal Kombat fatality, just like yes. But it was, yeah, that was like that whole sequence. I think actually, I don't know if we did that whole sequence. I think we only did parts of that sequence. So there was a lot of like almost like kind of playing like a pickup game where they're like, what did this studio do, and what is done over here, and we have to fill this gap. So how do we match this up? But yeah, we definitely tried a couple of things in terms of like using two hands, using one hand, trying from different angles.
Cool.
Cool. Very nice. Yeah, so
It's
this
the
thing
cops.
looks cool. The cops. Mechagodzilla's on the move.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, this is what I was telling you earlier, Alan. This right here.
The joy
This
in this
guy-
man's voice.
Yeah, this guy
This
didn't show up
Alan-
in the film, but he should have. Hell,
Alan,
yeah.
look-
Harold's gonna start a GoFundMe page just to
Yeah.
get this thing.
My wife
that
said
thing.
no, please help.
What?
Jeez.
Yes,
What
4
the-
feet tall. This thing is wider than my wife. Like wider than wider.
You think
wider
you want to
than
reword that,
me.
Harold?
This is wide. Okay, I have to reword that. This is wider than me, not wider than my wife. What are you talking about? My wife is tiny.
That's outrageous. I mean, it's outrageously cool.
No.
I kid you not. When I was young, we were dirt poor growing up, so we didn't have a lot of money. And there were times when my mum or my dad would go to like a yard sale, like a garage sale or whatever, and find kind of secondhand versions of Transformer toys. And I remember she came back with a piece of the chest piece for Metroplex, the chest piece for Autobot City, and the head, because it came in the parts. And she gave it to me, and I was like, "This is incredible! I have to find the other pieces so that I can, put them all together and transform it." And I mean, I'm in New Zealand; I could never find it. So, like, yeah, I kid you not, the joy I had when I saw that on screen, I was like, "It's just so cool! It's so cool!
Yeah,
Transformers
yeah.
are awesome."
They are.
It'd be
And my-
great if this thing
my wife says,
walked
like,
around.
No, this is ugly. You're not getting that. I was like, oh, come on. But then
Did you tell her that it serves drinks?
But she did say
It walks
but she
around
did-
with a little towel and everything and holds the tray and gives you drinks.
But my wife did say there is a silver lining to this story. She did say if it was a 4-foot tall Godzilla, she would say yes. So
Yeah.
There you go.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I still want this.
That's
still
pretty
want this,
amazing.
guys.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
so
mean,
cool.
Could you
Look at this
imagine
thing.
filming this thing? Like, not even
Oh.
just filming, but like you got to do the transformations on
Yeah.
camera.
have you seen the videos like of people that have this in hand? Like they're
Yeah,
using
it's
like
massive.
their whole body like just to try and.
Dude was on a
Yeah.
stepping stool, like a
I love
ladder.
it. You just have to get it in an arm bar to try and move it. Like, come on.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
that's literally what it is.
That's
They're like,
awesome.
oh,
Oh
Yes.
my god.
Worth
oh, yeah.
every drop of sweat to transform that thing. Look at it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's glorious. It's absolutely glorious.
Yes,
That's
yes.
brilliant.
I still want
Price
it.
is glorious too.
Yeah,
I bet
it's
it
like
is. Jeez.
over 1,000 easily.
Before shipping.
I would have expected
Before
more,
shipping,
though.
yeah.
I would have just
Yeah.
expected even more.
Yeah.
The ship.
to be
Oh man,
completely
trying to
honest.
ship that to New Zealand would be astronomical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd probably be cheaper to ship a car.
I think it's wider than my wife.
That's wider. That thing's wider than my wife.
I was
Love
meaning
it.
like it's a hug, you know what I mean? Like hugging my wife is very easy. Okay.
Yeah,
but,
good.
like,
Yeah, good
hug
save, Harold.
this,
Good save.
Good,
Yeah.
good
You
save.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Just keep
it's
on
just,
digging.
it just is. Thankfully, my wife doesn't watch this, so
I mean, yeah, she's gonna be like, "Oh, you'd hug that thing, or you're gonna kiss it too, Harold?" Is that what's happening?
Aw.
There's a knock at your door right now.
Yeah.
what doors? What doors? Look,
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
there's no door.
Just enough room for that sandal to come sailing through. Oh.
Yeah. Oh my god. Anyways,
No, but I mean, that's incredible. Like we said at the very start of the sale, like what a time to be alive when someone was like, you know what? I'm gonna design a 4 foot tall version of this,
yes.
and someone's gonna buy it.
Not
Yeah.
Harold, but
No, yeah, no, definitely not.
Nor Harold's wife.
But that's
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's so awesome. That's so good. Yeah,
It's
when I was a
awesome,
kid, I wanted to get all of the Transformers that could, all of the combiners, because I was just like, I wanted Devastator, I wanted Predaking, I wanted there was so many of them, and they were so cool. It was like
Yeah.
the next step.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. Oh man.
Good times.
Anyways, maybe Metroplex will never come to my house, but a 4 foot tall Godzilla can possibly come to my house. So,
Possibly.
in any
Possibly.
case. All right, guys. We have reached the end. It's been 2 hours and 37 minutes, man. It's been nothing but fun. Total fun. Yes. So, guys, okay, before I end the stream, guys, stay on so we can talk after and things like that. Alrighty. And for all you guys in the chat, guys, thank you so much for coming, guys. Do you guys have any questions that you guys want to ask Allan before we leave? Anything else? So please put that in the chat. Alrighty. And to you guys, Rob, Kyle, Michael, do you guys have any other questions that you want to ask Allan?
Got any plans to come to LA in the near future?
Yes. Yeah, actually, I'm going to be there in February. I'm
Oh,
teaching a workshop with TJ Storm
cool.
with his group at Mind's Eye Tribe. We're doing like a character performance capture, a little workshop. That's going to be fun.
Oh,
I'll
cool.
send you a DM. Maybe we can work something out.
For sure. Like, yeah. For anyone who's in LA, like, definitely hit me up because
Yeah,
I want
Yeah.
to. It'd be nice to see people and meet people.
yeah.
We'll be
Look at
there.
that. Look at that. Work.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Mike and Michael are both in LA, so you can definitely meet up with them.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I would love to. I would absolutely
Awesome.
love to.
Awesome. I love getting
Yeah,
people
nice.
together. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the matchmaker.
I mean, to answer this question from Matthew Peavy, how do you think Skar King would react to Mechagodzilla? That is a great question because I feel like, honestly, I feel like Skar King would probably laugh his ass off at Mechagodzilla, right? He would see it and think it was the most ridiculous thing ever. And then, of course, Mechagodzilla would like blast him with his laser or punch him in the face, and then it'd be all on.
Yeah.
And if it was just, I like that. I don't think he would take it seriously until he realized that Mechagodzilla is actually a credible threat, and then it'll be an interesting fight. Because if Skar King doesn't have Shimo, I think it changes the way Skar King deals with things. Like he relies a lot on Shimo blasting things with that ice blast.
Yeah.
Was it ever confirmed if Skar King's whip is a warbat skeleton? It was never confirmed actually, because we asked, everyone was like, what the hell is it? Like what, first of all, is that long, has a spine that long, you know? But looking at but that's the thing, like looking at the jaw that's attached to it, I mean, it's pretty, it's pretty obvious it's a warbat skeleton.
Cool. So, I guess one more thing, Alan. It's pretty obvious that Zuko is Skar King's kid, but do they want?
I don't want to say that. They don't. Yeah, they don't say it because then it's like it brings into this whole thing of like when Skar King dies, what's that weird relationship like? And then you're like, is Skar King like, you know, a terribly abusive father figure? So I think they wanted to like sidle away from that and be like, let's just focus on him being a villain, a bad guy villain. Let's not traumatize the wounded children too much.
So my friend Michael says, can you read that?
Oh, beautiful. Yeah. So it says, Ngā manakitanga kia koe ki tō whānau me tō mahi, which means manakitanga is like support, that kind of community love, that openness and that grace. Kia koe means to you. Ki tō whānau means your family. Me tō mahi. So he's saying much love and support to you, your family, and to the work you do.
Awesome. So David's an awesome guy. Yeah.
So ngā mihi nui, David. I really appreciate that. Aroha nui, which means great love and respect. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So let's see. Let's read this one. Did Skar King have more weapons than the whip that we didn't get to see, or was it just the whip and Shimo?
It was just the whip and Shimo, and just just the guns. Like that's the thing. Even without Shimo and the whip, Skar King is still a danger. He's still a weapon. But the whip gives him so much more advantage. And having a Shimo on hand is again, he's manipulative, and he's he's like, I'll definitely stack the deck in my favor and make sure that I can do what it takes to get the upper hand.
Yeah, I do have a question, Alan. Like there is one scene where he's in his cave, and then the one-eyed comes rushing in to report to him, and then like you can see in the back there's I guess female Kongs, and they have little kids. So like he's
little Sukos.
Yeah, he's got sex slaves. Wow.
Well, he has concubines. I think they want to call them concubines rather than sex slaves. But it's they very much have tried to set him up as he's a despot. Like he's not a benign despot at all. He is very much a fascistic kind of despot, you know.
Sure.
But yes, Zuko definitely is. He's red. Skar King is red. You see other babies that definitely look like Zuko, and as Rick points out, there is a moment where you can see that Zuko has some sort of subconscious reaction to seeing Skar King. So yes, they do allude to the abuse that Zuko has received, and you're not sure if they didn't want to be too clear that it was just Skar King. Like One Eye is pretty abusive, and the other apes who are being the guards are also pretty abusive. So that whole power structure is very abusive.
Sure. Wow. So last question for Allan Henry. What was Skar King's reaction seeing Godzilla after years he was sealed in his prison?
I think at the point where Godzilla turns up when they bust through the portal back in Hollow Earth, there's a point where Skar King gets even more kind of angry and wilder, and that's why during that 0G fight he is so he's less calculating, and he's much more vicious and feral in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when he eventually gets through the portal, and like he's I guess he's upset and a bit more feral in that fight, but he doesn't want to fight Godzilla. He wants to get to the portal so he can get up to the surface and take over there.
Sure.
So his like, and then of course Godzilla and Kong come through the same portal, and he's just like, okay, all right, fine, we got to do this.
Cool. Very cool.
But yeah, he definitely was very aware that Godzilla was the reason he got sealed away. Yeah, cool. PTSD for sure.
Cool. All right, guys. So we've reached the end. We've covered everything. Allan, thank you so much. This has been an awesome time. Look forward to, inviting you back in the future. And I look forward to seeing more of your work. And I definitely do hope that you will be part of the next Monsterverse installment. So I know you can't say anything about it and things, but fingers crossed for you, my friend. Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been wonderful. Thank you for inviting me to have this chat. I just love meeting more people in this community, because it can feel pretty isolating down here in New Zealand. And it's great to be able to come onto these communities and chat with people who love it and who support it, because as a kind of fledgling into the kaiju universe, it's nice to, even though I've played this iconic character, it's nice to feel like I can still ask those questions of like, what is this thing? Or when someone brings up a kaiju I don't know, I'm like, what is that? What does that do? That sounds awesome. And not because I feel like there was a lot of pressure when I first started to know everything, to have it perfectly locked down. And I'm like, the reality is it's not. I don't know that. So I'm just going to be honest, because I love it and I would love to learn more.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a longtime Godzilla fan, and I don't know everything, so that's it's perfectly fine. Yeah,
totally. So, there's more questions flying in. There's one from Monica. I don't know if Phosphora is still canon. I don't know. The backup, if they didn't get Mothra. Yeah, I'm not sure, because the thing is, they did get Mothra. So the fact that they did, I don't know if they put any more thought into what the backup was. But there were so many other kaiju on the list. There were plenty. Okay. There were plenty, yeah. And they're still on the list. Yeah. Was Skar King playing with Kong? He was at the start, but then he realized Kong was a threat, so he stopped playing. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And nice. Allan, where can people find you?
The best place to come looking for me on the social medias is Bluesky. I was pretty active on the Meta platforms, but Zuck is a real POS, so I've started to kind of shift away from Meta, which is difficult because there's an established audience there, and so many people are still on it. So I am still on the Meta platforms. If anyone needs to get in touch or contact me, for sure. I just won't be posting as regularly on there anymore. All of my stuff will be on Bluesky, and places like YouTube and Twitch when I do like interviews, or if I'm playing tabletop RPGs with people being big nerds. So I'm around, but yeah, Bluesky is the main place to get in touch for sure.
Cool. Alrighty. Yeah. And Kaiju Canuck, where can people find you?
Yes. YouTube, X, Instagram. I think that's it.
Yeah. Cool. And Shinrob Jiro, what about you, sir?
You could find me on YouTube as Shinrob Jira, Instagram as Shinrob Jira, Bluesky Shinrob Jira, TikTok Shinrob Jira with an underscore if that's your vibe, and I believe that's it. I think there's too many. Those are the main ones.
Cool. And Mike
Yeah,
Monsters,
I should
where
have said.
can-
I should have said
Oh,
if
go
you're
ahead.
on Blue Sky, it's Allan Henry official.
Yes,
Just so you
I just recently started following you there because I'm on Blue Sky too. So
Right on,
yeah.
right on.
I got off of X. It was just driving me nuts seeing all
That's
the
the right
video
move.
and stuff like
yeah,
that. So
the
I
right
just-
move.
X and Meta. There's
Yeah.
an interesting time happening over there right now.
So like even though I had like
Mm.
2,000 plus followers there, I was like, forget it. Forget
Yeah,
it all.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
So Mike's Monsters, what about you? Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Mike's Monsters, YouTube, Mike's Monsters, Blue Sky, Mike's Monsters. I don't know what has underscores or periods between the names. Sometimes they're all over the place. I'm no longer on X as well. I got off that crap hole. It's a bad place. And it's because of the management, not because of certain creators who think that they pushed me off. The management and the way that site's run, it's just not happening. I've been on a production for the last few weeks. I'm surprisingly have a day off today. So I've got videos and photos coming. I can't wait to photograph Skar King. I've got him from this guy right here. He hooked me up last week. So I got stuff coming, cooking. Just haven't been able to take the time to make the meal yet. So yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm all over the place.
All right. And Michael, the articulation series, where can people find you?
Can find me everywhere because I'm not Bandai.
I heard that.
We heard it.
Yeah, we heard it, but it was very quiet, Michael.
Yeah.
You know what? My microphone died, but yeah, I'm using my earpiece microphone, so hopefully it still works. But yeah, you can find me anywhere. You can go to X, Facebook, Meta, whatever they call it now, YouTube, everywhere. So Instagram. Just remember, I'm the articulation series. I'm not Bandai.
This
Cool.
man does not work for Bandai. Leave him alone.
Yes.
I used to, but
And
I'm
his
not
opinions are his own. They are not bought.
To differentiate.
Ooh,
There you go.
Yes.
cool.
There's no
And you can-
Bandai logo on that.
And you can find me here on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me also on Blue Sky, no longer on X. And I do have TikTok, which I rarely use. I don't know. I just don't like it in any case. But in any case, I have it and things. Alrighty. And next month is February, and big month for me. I will be turning 48. Yeah.
Hey.
My
Yes, sir.
condolences.
Yeah, sure. My condolences are, yeah.
Golly.
Anyways,
You
I
don't
don't
look
know.
a day
I'm
over
happy.
40,
I'm,
Harold.
I'm happy either way. I'm very happy and stuff. So like, I just want to be happy. I just want to live happy and things. So that's why I muted out a whole bunch of stuff and things. You know what I mean? Anybody that just contributes nothing to me or whatever, it's just gone. Whatever. Yeah. So.
That sounded like such a threat, Harold. Listen up, you lot.
Yeah. Alrighty. Oh, thank you, Matthew. Thank you. All right. So guys, please stay on. All right. I will end the stream. And guys, next month will be another episode of FigureMania Show Live. Guys, thank you so much for coming today. Allan Henry, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing more of your work, and the best of luck in the future. Hopefully we'll get to have this conversation again real soon. All right. Okay, guys. All right, guys. Thank you for coming, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.